Welcome to the SFL Rookie Draft. Fort Worth, you are on the clock.
This draft? What's there not to say? This is just the beginning for these guys. It's time to come home.
Tries to make a dribble and fumbles the football. It's picked up and walking into the end zone.
All these minor league players looking to make their impact? There's only one place to do that.
Oh my goodness!
Put up or shut up.
Oh boy!
The time to make your mark is now. Never before has the spotlight been brighter.
He always comes up big in big time situations.
Can you stand the heat?
They did not catch him.
I made my mark.
With the 13th pick, the Chicago Wildcats select Mike Improta.
It's time to make yours.
Throwing it to the top of the screen. Looks like Mike Improta get the call.
This is the SFL draft. I'll see you on the field.
Welcome in to the Season 15 Simulation Football League Rookie Draft Panel. My name is Chris Curtis, and I'm joined by four very esteemed panelists going over each of the picks from each of the teams. 22 picks are going to be made tonight, coupled by a couple of the same teams as well, and might see some things that are a little unexpected, some trades, things of that sort that might go along the way as well. I am Chris Curtis. I'm along with, to my left, he is from the Chicago Wildcats. You saw him in that clip right there. It is Mikey Improta. Mikey, how you doing?
Hey, Chris. Yeah, buddy, I'm fired up. I can't wait to get this party started. Let the show begin.
To his left in the big picture, it is Eddie Gage from the Arizona Scorpions. Eddie, how you doing?
What up, dude? I'm blessed another day. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. I'm ready to get this show on the road.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy Dad's Day to everybody out there. And it is Coach Craven from the Lone Star Glory, the offensive coordinator. Coach Craven, how are you?
I'm doing great. Going to be a glorious day, and Bodacious says hello.
Fair enough. That being said, to his immediate right, one of the hopeful rookies in this draft to be drafted. Hopefully it is Benji Madison. Benji, how you doing, sir?
Chris, doing well this evening. On behalf of all the rookies that are watching out there tonight, we are excited. We can't wait to see how this unfolds.
Yep, going to be fun. The Fort Worth Toros are on the clock. Let's have a conversation about those guys. They are new to the SFL. And, they've got a pretty esteemed group of ownership that are ready to have some fun, no doubt about that. Let's talk about these guys a little bit as we go forward. Eddie Gage, I'm going to go to you first. Being in this situation just one season ago where you were coming into the league, give me your thought process at that point and what they're feeling right now.
Nervous, excitement, ready to put on a show for the SFL, ready to prove that the league ownership made the right call and bringing these guys on board as one of the two new franchises, and they're ready to, quote unquote, hashtag make an impact.
Taking a look at their offseason moves, Mikey Improta, the Toros have a little bit of work to do. They still have to fill out a lot of their roster. They have 7 rounds to do it. And do you see something that they're kind of looking at for this first pick? Do you see an obvious number one?
In my mind, I think they have a number one that's obvious to me. They have 7 open spots. Stephen Hacker, Nacho Sicario, they came over with a lot of experience from Queen City. To me, I think they go defense. That's where they need a lot of help. They picked up Xander Gold in the offseason. The free agent pickup of Jason Williams from London was an excellent addition to this new team. In my opinion, I think they go D lineman. They need to pick up some more defense. That's where I think they start.
In the last mock draft that was put up for the SFL, there was a lot of defensive players taken in the first round. We'll see if that holds any water and if that's going to be the case. We have live look-ins from rookies. We have live look-ins from owners. The entire way this evening is 22 picks. 22 players are going to have their fates sealed for their first season in the SFL. Over 200 rookies, a record for the Simulation Football League, are in the draft pool. Should be a lot of fun to see where their careers take flight. So as we go in, Coach Craven, I go to you. Are you kind of in agreement with Mikey Improta on that first pick, or are you kind of thinking something different there?
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. They've got some established offensive players that pretty good position, at least in the foundation of their offense. Defense seems like a logical choice. They could surprise us, but it seems like a logical choice.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And then Benji, real quick, we'll go to you because you're kind of in that seat that that a lot of other rookies are in right now. As a potential pick in the draft, what's going through your head as these owners work to try to get themselves situated and get their picks chosen?
Well, I'll speak for my brothers and sisters out there watching tonight. We're excited. We're nervous. We have no idea how this is going to shake out. Like you had said, Chris, over 200 of us working really hard, spending that time grinding in the minor leagues for 8 weeks, building these relationships with these owners, with these teams. It's been a grind, and I know that everyone's excited tonight to see how this all plays out, especially with two of these brand new expansion teams here at the top of the draft. I know I've spoke with a lot of rookies who really want a shot, and so they're really looking forward to this draft tonight. They're excited to see who goes with this first pick tonight and who follows to Portland after.
Well, and then you take a look at that first pick. You take a look at what that means. We saw it last season with Johnny Pickler going to St. Louis in pick number 1. We obviously know what unfolded in the offseason there, and we'll get to that here as we go along. But let's take a step back real quick. Let's put a broad view over this and kind of what are we doing here. What this is the Simulation Football League. It is the first controllerless esport where you, the viewer, can actually participate and have a character on the field. You can go from couch to field and put yourself on the field where you are represented by a player you're in the game, making heroic plays and sometimes making really dumb plays. It happens everywhere. It goes a little bit of each way, but that is what we were doing here. It's been 14 seasons up to this point. We're working on starting the 15th season that is going to be taking place in a couple of months as the league takes shape, or not even a couple months, more like a month, as we get everything sorted. But it's an established league with a lot of really, really good people that are all after the same goal, and that is what the SFL is all about. We're making a league where everybody's included, got people from every walk of life. And speaking of, let's get to Commissioner Cameron Irvine. The Fort Worth Toros have their first pick in. Let's go to him now. Nope, working on Commissioner in just a second. But that's what the Simulation Football League is all about. It is about that inclusion. It's about everybody doing what they can do, well, from where they're at. It's a lot of fun to be a part of, and if you want to get to be a part of it, you can go to simulationfootball.net, grab the Discord link from there, join the community. It's a lot of fun to be a part of. Even if you're not a part of festivities this evening, you can still join in. There's definitely things happening during the season that can get you involved. So no problem there. But the Toros pick, we're going to get to them in just a second as we go forward. And I think we are just about ready. So let's go ahead and send it over to Commissioner Cameron Irvine for the first pick in the Season 15 draft.
Thank you, Curtis. With the first pick in the SFL Season 15 rookie draft, the Fort Worth Toros select linebacker David Harrell, Winston-Salem, North Carolina, Birmingham Fuel. Portland, you're on the clock with the second pick.
That's awesome. Portland Fleet are now on the clock, but let's talk about David Harrell, who gets picked up, the linebacker. And Eddie, I'm going to start with you. Defensive pick on round 1, the first pick in the draft, belongs to David Harrell and the Toros. What's your reaction, first and foremost?
Well, you can't go wrong with defense early on. I mean, obviously they made a great selection getting one of Harrell's, and it seems like every team in the SFL wants a Harrell on their staff. They made a great selection here. They're always in chat, always participating, and I'm sure they spoke with them for quite some time to make them their number 1 first overall selection. So it's like their organization's off to the right track.
Yeah, I would agree with that. There's a lot of Harrells as well. You've got David, you've got Catherine, who's in there among a whole family. They make it a family event at the Harrell household, and it's really, really cool to see. Let's talk to you, Mr. Improta. Your reactions to this first pick. You were thinking defense, and may not have been where you thought it was going to be, but
No, I thought that they might go with a D lineman, but they don't have any linebackers. Horo will be the anchor right in the middle of the field. And, when you're trying to build your franchise, for me, that's exactly where you start. You want to secure that middle of the field. Linebacker's the way to go. And what better person than David Harrell? I've had an opportunity to speak to him. He's from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. He contributes to the league. He brings a positive attitude every single time we need him to help out. He's been an unbelievable contributor during the broadcast, helped me out on many of my games doing statistics. So I think that's an excellent choice. Good job by Stephen Hacker and Nacho Sicario.
Yep, I like that pick as well. That'll work. And as we go forward, good stuff from the Toros. Now let's talk about the Portland Fleet. Their first pick as an SFL franchise. You take a look a little bit at some reactions there. Looks like we're having some framing. That's fine. But either way, let's talk about the Fleet for a second. Their first pick in the SFL. And I'm going to talk to Mr. Craven as we go forward. The Coach Craven to Portland, looking at a similar situation to the Toros as far as their selection committee. Where do you think they potentially go as you look at their team?
Well, I mean, I think if I remember correctly, they have the most openings of any team. They could go virtually anywhere. Maybe another Hoyle here. Beth might be a good pick for them. I think she's a fantastic receiver. Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's their pick. I think that's where they go. Could be completely wrong, of course, but that's what I would do in that situation, knowing what they have.
Yeah, absolutely. And Benji, any insight as to what Mr. Hurl is thinking right now, being the first pick in the season 15 draft? Elation, I'm sure, as he gets into the thick of it with the Toros franchise, and as we go into the Fleet, where do you think they go as the second part of that question?
Well, I think first off, the Toros are getting an excellent leader there in David Harrell. I was his teammate this year in the minors on the Birmingham Fuel Up, if you will. And he was nothing but consummate professional, great leadership on the field, in the locker room. And he's going to be a great spokesman there for the league here. Season 15, first overall pick. I couldn't be happier for David. And just kind of echo on what Coach just said, wouldn't it be something if we saw a run here on Horals in this first round of this season 15 draft, huh? I think that we might hear a number of names called today, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see Beth's name come off the board here on pick number 2 as well.
That'd be a nice prediction. You just took a look there at David Horrell, who we just had a live reaction to him learning about his pick and the fact that he was taken by the Toros in pick number 1. And Eddie, I'm going to turn to you with I'm going to get one more kind of look in on what the Fleet may be thinking here, because as Improda mentioned, there are a lot of open spots on this particular, or as Craven mentioned, there's a lot of open spots on this particular board. Do you have your eye on something for the Fleet to kind of start their process off?
I don't think anyone does. As he mentioned, there's a lot of spots to fill. They have their quarterback of the future, bringing Matt South out of retirement, so they have that position pretty much locked up. Perhaps they give him a weapon to throw to. I mean, I'm sure in his discussions he talked about what kind of weapons he would have on offense, as I'm sure any free agent would come out of retirement. They want, some nice toys to throw the ball to, so perhaps they go wide receiver here.
Maybe go wide out. That's not a bad way to go. Give your quarterback someone to throw to, more like, and that may be where they end up going in the mock draft. The last mock draft that was released, just I believe it was just the other day. The first offensive player was not taken until outside the top 10, if I remember correctly. So that's something to keep in mind. We're already one of the picks through the top 10, and as that mentioned, a defensive player was taken. We'll see if that holds water as we go forward. But as we wait for the Fleet's pick coming in, if you guys are coming in just for the first time and wondering what in the world we're doing with 4 squares, 1 rectangle, and a whole bunch of text on screen, this is the Simulation Football League Season 15 Rookie Draft. For more information on how to get involved with the Simulation Football League, head over to simulationfl.net and grab the Discord link, join the community, and you can get involved. And I do believe that little sound means that Portland has made their selection. Let's send it back over to Commissioner Irvine for that pick right now.
Thank you, Curtis. With the second pick in the SFL's Season 15 Rookie Draft, the Portland Fleet select defensive tackle Bernard Patterson of the Birmingham Fuel. London, you're on the clock with the third selection.
Oh, there you go. So Bernard Patterson off the board, the first defensive lineman taken in this draft. And Eddie, you had a reactionary noise to that, so I'm going to pick on you first. Ed, your reaction to this, why is he an interesting selection in your mind?
He's an interesting selection because I've noticed Portland doesn't have many players, but a lot of them are on defense, and perhaps they follow that same mentality that I do, that defense wins championships. And a lot of people had him going to London, but Portland did not give him the opportunity. They picked him up second overall.
Yeah, that is fair. Now let's talk. I'm going to keep it with you, Eddie, real quick, because maybe they're going on a mentality of take best available versus position need. Is that something that that could be a strategy for them going then?
It could be. He rated out highest amongst defensive tackles at 57.32. He's a 6'6", 330, a big defensive tackle. They might use him at nose guard with the size he has, but we have to wait and see. He's the biggest guy out there at defensive tackle, so perhaps they plan on using him with a 3-4 scheme.
Yep, that makes sense. Benji, I'm going to go to you and pick on you a little bit here. Let's talk to you about this the selection and the old mantra of defense wins championships. They seem to be loading up on that side of the ball, and then the offense eventually take care of itself. Your reaction to this pick? Benji?
I think Benji's getting a call.
Okay, and Mikey and Proto, we're going to jump to you then.
Yeah. I think I'm a little surprised with that pick, to be honest with you guys. I know Jacob Bouvet. He's a young mind. He's a clever guy. He comes over with his experience from Denver. I really thought that they would probably go with the rest of you guys were saying. They don't have any wide receivers. They need two. But more importantly, they have 4 openings in their secondary. I really thought they were either going to go wide receiver or, maybe pick up a safety. They did bring over Mel Davis. He was the defensive rookie of the year. They go with Bernard Patterson. Not a bad start, but definitely a surprise for me.
There, the live looking on Liam Crowder. Let's talk about the Knights as we go into the third pick in this draft. They had a rather disappointing season by all facets a season ago, and I think Liam would be the first to admit that. And Craven, I want to talk to you real quick about this. Let's their turnaround possibly starts tonight with the third pick. What is their most glaring team need in your mind? Where do you think they go?
Well, again, you're looking at a team that has a lot of different places they could take an impact player. There's some great receivers sitting there. The aforementioned Beth, Mike Twinscrew at wide receiver. If it's me, I think they're taking a wide receiver there, but they might be looking at defensive tackle as well. I've got a feeling about that. I don't know why. I can't tell you why. It's a gut feeling, but I think it's either a wide receiver or a defensive tackle.
Well, you mentioned Mike Twinscrew. He was in the top 10 of that mock draft as well. Wondering if maybe him coming up to number 3 after maybe their defensive lineman got taken just one pick ago, maybe the way they go. But I mean, you take a look at I believe McLean is back with them. That was a big grab for them to be able to stick with their same quarterback, in my opinion, and that's a really good way to look at it. Going to you, Benji, it looks like you're back with us. Let's talk about the Knights real quick. The Knights are, as mentioned, in a position where they had a disappointing season. Give us your thoughts on their draft in this round number 1. I don't think he's with us yet. Okay, well, that's fine. We're going to go back to you, Eddie, and talk about London real quick and see where your thoughts are at with them.
London lost a big weapon, their biggest free agent acquisition probably ever, and Gabe Manning this past season to Tulsa.
Tell him, Eddie.
Perhaps they do decide to look at wide receiver. That's my choice. That's why I at least think they're going to go. Who they draft, I don't know, but my hunch is on Eagle Mondavi, but we just have to wait and see.
That could be fun.
Look at the look on Liam's face, though. He's really happy that whoever this pick is fell to him. So.
Yeah, that was my thought too. I was looking at him and I'm like, his emotions kind of told the story there in his nice little English suit across the pond. It was really kind of fun to see. Really like to see that emotion and that comes through on these live look-ins from owners, and also some rookies that are going to get that spotlight as well. Like we saw David Hurl with pick number 1. We had a lot of fun with that, seeing what that organic reaction looked like. We're going to hopefully see that most of the night tonight as we get things going. Again, 22 picks going to be decided. 22 SFL careers will start tonight as these teams pick the fruits of the trees that are the SFL rookies. Over 200 players in the pool trying to get their name called this evening. And there were players even as of last night that were messaging owners saying, hey, I'm here, remember me. And I know that I look at you, Eddie, and I see you're smiling because you were one of those that probably received a few of those.
I did.
As I mentioned, I was talking to Andy Hamilton. He was getting a lot of those last night as well. Everybody's trying to get to the same point where they get their name called by the commissioner, and it's a real fun experience to see. Looks like London's pick is in, though. Let's see where they went. Back to Commissioner Irvine for that selection.
Thank you, Curtis. With the third pick in the SFL Season 15 rookie draft, the London Knights select tight end Benji Matson, Omaha, Nebraska. He was getting that call live on the air. Houston, you're on the clock with the fourth pick.
Okay, so now we know why he was not saying anything. That makes perfect sense. So I think let's talk to the tight end third pick by London, Benji Matson, real quick. Are you there, sir? And first of all, congratulations. Second of all, what's going through your head?
I'm here, Chris. Thank you. That how about that, huh? That was something else. I guess. First of all, I'd like to say how excited I am to receive that call from Liam there from across the pond. Very excited. I'd spoken with London and had great discussions during the minor league, and we had talked about maybe this was something that would be possible, but didn't really think it would come to fruition. So how about an SFL dream coming true right there?
So now we know why you weren't talking to us, because you were talking to Liam. Little did we know you were on the same phone call when we were looking at Liam. So that was really, really funny to see. Just to eliminate you from the discussion for a bit, because you've now been picked. Let's go over to Coach Craven. Coach Craven, they gave him a weapon to throw to. Talking about McLean. Let's see what that brings with the rest of this London draft. But your reaction to the pick?
Well, you can't argue with that. I don't remember who said it, but they kept Angus. And they lost a big weapon. So, yeah, you want to get him weapons, want to get him someone to throw to. Tight ends are going to help in the running game as well with the blocking. I think tight ends are fantastic, even though, Mike Daggs feels like they're disrespected. He feels like they're disrespected was where I was going. But, yeah, that's fantastic. And congratulations to Benzie. I think you can't go wrong with another weapon for your quarterback. So
yep. And Mr. Awesome. Improda, I'm going to touch base with you real quick. That being said, tight end is their first pick. Maybe a best available situation as far as that goes, but give me your thought process going forward for the rest of the London draft. Do you think they focus more on offense in the early rounds, maybe try to shore up defense later on, or do they try to just, I don't know, you tell me.
Yeah, if you know the SFL and you know the London Knights, Liam Crowder, he's an offensive-minded type of coach, in my opinion. And as Eddie mentioned and alluded to, I thought he was spot on. That's why I got really excited. When you lose a player like Gabriel Manning, you lose another wide receiver like Saren Storm. I thought that they were going to go wide receiver. Robert Merrill, he switched from wide receiver. He's playing running back. They're sitting there with one wide receiver, Vin Kalia. So in my mind, I thought they might go a Beth Harrell, a CJ Arthur, maybe a Mike Twinscrew, but obviously Liam saw something in Benji Matson, the best looking tight end on the board. They saw the value, they felt that it was there, and they pulled the trigger. They got their guy.
We get to see his face, so maybe that's figurative and literal, talking about the best looking tight end on the board.
He's got more hair than me. That's all that matters.
That's right. That's right. All right, let's go to the Hyenas. Let's talk Houston for real quick as we go into pick number 4. And Eddie, I saved this for you because I know you have a history with this team. Before you ended up taking the reins with Arizona. Talk to me about what they're feeling going into pick number 4, where DeMond's head's at among the other staff that are on that team, and what typically, frankly, what they need.
Well, me and Damon are obviously still close. I've been friends with him for about a decade now, it seems like. And I don't know. I mean, he shares some stuff with me in confidence, but if he's thinking the way I hope he's thinking, perhaps he was hoping that Bernard Patterson fell to him to help him replace Mike Fats Johnson, who recently retired after this past season. So now that he's gone, does he move elsewhere on the defensive line? I don't know. But that's where I would look.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And the Hyenas did not have the best season, and I think the Damon and company would be the first to admit that going into season 14, and they're definitely looking to reload. No doubt about that. Let's talk to Benji Matson now that we've gotten the kind of the butterflies out of the way. Hopefully, give me your thoughts on the Hyenas going forward. I want to see what your thought process is, and try to put yourself in the mind of Damon Simeon.
Yeah, well, we see a lot of value, some excellent players, on the defense side of the ball here, and there's a clear need for the Hyenas to grab someone on that defensive side of the ball. I wouldn't be surprised if we just say it's going to be defensive pick right now. And we see a lot of strength in the linebacking core in this year's draft. We know that they could be looking at someone. A lot of mocks had Devin King going here in this spot, fourth to Houston. But I think maybe we could lean on the idea that defense could be this pick here on number 4. And again, there's a lot of value to be had on this defensive front 7 yet in the draft. Wouldn't be surprised to see D-line or linebacker go pick 4.
We had a season last season. The draft was dominated by fullbacks. I kind of had a thought and feeling that we weren't going to see something like that this particular season. And I heard a snicker on the other side. There is that kind of fell by the wayside. Hyenas are in an interesting spot. They've got some definite holes from people that have left. No doubt about that. Be curious to see where Damon and company go as we get things going for the 4th pick in this season 15 draft. If you guys are just joining us, Chris Curtis, Eddie Gage, Benji Matson, Coach Craven, and Mike Improta with you on the panel for this season's rookie draft. If you guys were tuned in for the last one, we were live from the For the Fans and 11 Sports studios out in Boston, where we had a great time doing this live. Obviously, haven't been able to get that done this time. But without any further ado, let's get over to the pick that Houston is making. Commissioner Irvine, you're back on.
Thank you, Chris. With the 4th pick of the SFL's Season 15 rookie draft, the Houston Hyenas select linebacker Brody Gulch, Grand Rapids, Michigan, out of the Ottawa Cavalry. Louisiana, you're on the clock with the 5th pick of the draft.
Fair enough. So Brody Gulch is off the board. We're going to give that a chance to sit and rest. We are going to be back to you with the Season 15 rookie draft for the Simulation Football League right after this. Stay with us. Good stuff, guys.
Keep it going, Chris Curtis. Keep it going, brother. You're on fire.
I'm feeling pretty good about this.
Hey guys, looks like I got a frozen webcam on my side.
You look good though.
Eddie did his homework tonight. He's right on the money with every piece of analysis so far. I love it.
Benji, try hitting the button for webcam on Neats. No, never mind. Don't do that. Do not do that. Do not do that. Do not do that.
Right. All right.
That's gonna screw something up. I don't. Look, we just saw it update. I'm not sure what you did. But we just saw it update.
All right.
So just kind of leave it still until it updates, and you'll get some funny chats to go from this. But
you said it looked bad.
I found that while my video isn't that crisp, Cam, I forgot to plug in my hard wire on my computer. I can do it. I can plug it in on this commercial break.
Don't do it because it'll reset your connection and you'll leave the meet.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Sorry.
You're good. We'll make it work. Cam, up to expectation?
Thanks, gentlemen.
Yep. We will keep on trucking. I'm going to ignore you for the Lone Star Glory one. Just giving you a heads up for obvious reasons.
What? Come on.
With that, welcome back in to the Season 15 Simulation Football League Rookie Draft, round number 1. As we just had the Houston Hyenas make their selection. And let's talk with the, let's talk at the man of the hour, Eddie Gage, who has a history with that team. They went linebacker, Brody Gulch, off the board. What's your thought?
My first thought is Mike Twinscrew got this right on the money. He predicted in his mock draft that he would go to the Houston Hyenas, and sure enough, that's where he's headed. It's kind of easy to predict they would go on defense because when you look at their offense, they're pretty much loaded already with 3 receivers, a tight end, tailback, and proven quarterback rookie of the year. So defense was the way they decided to go, and they got a pretty solid selection there in Brady Gulch.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't quite fill the void that Fats left, but it's a step in the right direction to try to shore up that defense, no doubt about that. And Mikey and Proda, let's talk to you. Obviously, we talked a little bit about defense. We talked a little bit about possibly the Hyenas doing something defensively. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that pick is right on the money. It's an excellent pick by Damon Simeon. They needed someone to fit in next to Alex Perez on that big defensive line, and that's a great pick. Brody Gulch, I thought he was worthy. If David Harrell didn't go number 1 and Brody Gulch went number 1 to the Toros, I would have been very happy to see that happen. So for him to fall to number 4, I really think Damon Simeon and the Hyenas really get a solid pick. Brody the Gooch Gulch goes number 4. Congratulations.
Love it. Gulch is off the board, and now the Hyenas are off the board for the time being. Let's talk about the Louisiana Revolution. They are on the clock, coming over, of course, from the New Orleans Pharaohs. That was disbanded, but then taken over again to keep them in the state of Louisiana. And we're going to talk to you, Coach Craven, about team needs for Louisiana going into this draft. They have some holes to fill. Obviously, they got some pieces, but also lost some pieces. What's your thoughts?
Well, they took care of a pretty big hole, obviously signing Johnny. So that when they did that, that freed them up to go a lot of other places. I think I know what they're doing here, and if I'm right, it's a fantastic pick. I think they go defense and build on the defense, and they're getting a good guy. If it's who I think it is, they're getting a fantastic guy.
Be looking at you when Cam makes this pick, when Cam announces this pick, and just to kind of see your reaction to tell me if you knew what was going on there. That said, we'll talk about Pickler here. I have a feeling that's going to be a topic of discussion a little bit later. But Benji Madison, let's go to you and talk about Louisiana. Your thoughts going in? Do you agree with Craven with the defense, or do you think they give Pickler some weapons?
Yeah, that's a great question. Revolution are. Yeah, they're literally on the clock right now. That's great. The coach has an idea where they're going to go. I can't say either way. I don't have a good feeling on this pick. I'm not quite sure where they might go, but they are for sure making noise this offseason with the Pickler signing and are looking forward to having a fantastic year. Wouldn't be surprised if they add another weapon for him to throw to, or maybe someone to protect him, to protect that blind side, if you will, protect their investment. And what better way to keep that offense on the field than build up that defense there. So again, a lot of great value in this draft at the defensive position. Wouldn't be surprised as well if Revolution are looking to beef up on that side of the ball.
Yeah. Will they go add a weapon to Pickler's arsenal, or do they go and shore up the defensive side? We find out in just a moment. As the pick is in, let's get over to Cameron Irvine for that selection.
Thank you, Chris. With the 5th pick of the SFL's Season 15 rookie draft, the Louisiana Revolution select defensive end Ross Napoli out of Staten Island, New York. Lone Star, you're on the clock with the 6th selection.
So 5th pick off the board, it's Ross Napoli. I like that pick. I couldn't gauge Craven's face to tell me whether or not he thought it was going there. but he was right on the defensive side. Let's touch base with you first. Your reaction?
Yeah, that's what I thought. Great pick.
Okay.
Ross and I have spent a lot of time talking. He's a fantastic guy. We didn't have a place for him in Lone Star, or else I would have been lobbying hard. He's a fantastic guy. So
Well, now that you know he went the pick before your guys' team, he wouldn't have gone to you anyway, right? So there's that. Eddie, I'm going to go to you.
Touche, sir.
Eddie, let's touch base on Louisiana. Your thoughts on the defensive end pick with Mr. Napoli?
You can't go wrong. It was a glaring need that they had. They need someone to rush the passer. There's 3 rules in football: run the ball, stop the run, rush the passer, and they're feeling that need with this pick here. He's their first defensive lineman to be added to their roster. It's a glaring need. Johnny already has a lot of weapons on offense, including tight end and Cody Scott. So I wasn't too, expecting them to pick even an offensive player on that side of the ball. It's early in the draft. They got a defensive lineman to get them off the field on 3rd down, and great pickup by them. He was picked number 1 to go overall by a lot of mock drafts. So to see him fall this far was a bit surprising.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, at the same time, that was a lot of the early ones as well. I knew he was actually, no, never mind. I think he was in the number 1 spot in the last one as well. Yes. So completely forget that. That's fine. Let's touch base on the Lone Star Glory. So that's going to be a fun one. I see you down there, Craven. Mikey and Proda, let's touch base on these guys in their roster, where they have needs, what they did in the offseason. What's your thought process going into this pick?
Yeah, I'm really excited for this pick. This is the team that was purchased from the Seattle area. Wally Herman and Charles Doherty. They moved the team down to Texas. In my mind, they need to draft a quarterback or a running back. Those are the 2 most important positions on a team. They don't have either. I think this is where the first quarterback in the league gets picked. I think it might be a little bit of a surprise. I don't know if I'm going out on a limb. In my opinion, I have Brian Dynasty ranked 1, Ace Fennick 2, Javier Vasquez 3, but I think they go with Ace Fennick on this selection.
So I think they go with that number 2 selection. Benji, you echo those sentiments, or do you think they go somewhere else?
No, I think quarterback's what we see here too. I think Mikey's right on. This was going to be an interesting spot in the draft. We knew the quarterback discussion was going to come up. We're stacked the quarterback position in this draft, and we know there's not room for everyone. So this is a big pick for our classmates this year. These rookies wanting to get into that spot, and I do think this is the right spot for the first one to come off the board.
Oh, it's interesting too, because you have the quarterback spot. There are teams with glaring holes at that position after the offseason moves that were made, including one in the middle of the draft with St. Louis. So that could be something that they could be taking one of those top 3 that Improda mentioned. So that should be very, very interesting. Lone Star, one of the 3 teams now in the Metroplex in the Texas, in the state of Texas anyway. So another time for Texas teams to kind of take over, and we'll see how they do, and obviously form those in-state rivalries. But it all starts here, and figuring out what players are going to go where, what personalities are going to fit on what team. It makes things really, really fun going in. So the Lone Star State's about to get a little more crowded. Let's see where Lone Star goes with this selection. Cameron Irvine, you're on.
With the 6th pick of the SFL Season 15 rookie draft, the Lone Star Glory select Ace Fennick, quarterback from the San Jose Flight and Woodhaven, Michigan. Tulsa, you're on the clock with the 7th selection.
All right, so our second Michigan guy taken off the board. One from Grand Rapids, one from Woodhaven. Those of you that had 2 Michigan players taken in the first top 10 picks of the draft, you guys win. That said, I'm going to go to you, Mikey and Proda. You called this pick. What did you see in Fennick, and what did you see with Lone Star that made this fit more or less what it needed to be?
Yes, awesome.
Well, as I mentioned, and look at that scene in Ace Fennick's living room. I love it. Look at the family; they're all fired up for this guy. Unbelievable!
Look at the hats; those are great.
Yeah, look at the Lone Star State. Beautiful.
Awesome.
Either go big or go home, Ace Fennec. I love it, baby. No, to answer your question, Chris, I knew that they had a need. They're going QB or running back. The only thing that I thought in my mind knowing that they don't have a running back and this draft with the quarterbacks being so deep, so solid, so strong, do they try to throw a wrench in this draft and maybe get a high value pick like a Fox Highwind, knowing that there's many quarterbacks still left on the board? But they pulled the trigger on Ace Fennec. I had a feeling that's where they were going to go. And congratulations, he is in all his glory right now.
Look at that mascot on the right side of your screen. That is excellent. Good work by Lone Star, really showing up to this draft and making this an absolute event. Congrats to Ace Fennec on the selection at 6 overall. Let's talk about it with Eddie Gage. They get their guy, they get their field general with Ace Fennec. Good pick. Agree with it. Think they maybe have gone elsewhere. What's your thought process?
The Scorpions, we play Lone Star week 1, and them landing Ace Fennec was probably one of the worst kept secrets in the entire SFL. Ace has a great relationship with Dave Axis and company over there. They've been talking to each other for a long time, started over there in the SFLM, and it continued throughout the season. They talk quite a bit every day, as in fact. So everyone knew he was going there. It was just a matter of them making that selection and putting it in, hoping that no one picked him ahead of them. But they got a great guy there. And the only question was whether they go, as it was said earlier, whether they go quarterback or running back. But as much as for me being a defender, as much as I hate to say it, the quarterback position is the most important position in football. You have to secure it, and they did it here with their first round pick.
I like it. So that takes care of Lone Star's pick at number 6. Let's talk about Tulsa as we go into the Desperados heads here. And I'm going to touch base with you, Coach Craven, first. Tulsa's on the clock. Their team needs, they have their quarterback. Where do they go?
Well, there's an argument to be made for an offensive lineman here. Deacon Nickens could use a little extra protection, a little more help. They've spent some money. They brought in Big Money Manning, and they've got some other weapons, Sonzo Robinson. So there's an argument to be made for an offensive lineman here. I might go with the highest value cornerback I can get and take care of that back end. But it's hard to say. They don't have a lot of needs, but they could really make a splash with the right pick here.
Yeah, they're one of the teams that very well could vault themselves to the top of a lot of people's standings going into season 15 by getting this pick right and by solidifying, their positions as they were, kind of taking care of any Achilles heels they have. And Benji, you agree with that? You think they maybe, if they go offense, they go offensive lineman, or if they go defense, do you have another spot that they're looking at maybe?
If they go defense, let's take a look at that cornerback position.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at a few of the top potential desperados on the top of that list. We've got the stat man Raska Santagria available, and we've got my teammate Bob Funk Railroad hanging out there from the Fuel. He led the league in interceptions this year. He was all over the place, and that cornerback field is also a rich, heavy, deep position too. But I think two of those candidates there at the top of the list are ready to play and are ready to go to a team, and they can make an impact right off the bat. So if I were Tulsa, I might be looking at one of those two great cornerbacks there.
That may very well be where they end up. They've had a good one too for a little while with Deacon Nickens and Sonzo Robinson, but let's talk about real quick as we go forward their get of Gabriel Manning in the offseason. That really vaults them up the standings, in my opinion, as far as their offensive stats game over game. They are a legitimate weapon on the offensive side of the ball, Eddie, and I think that that's really going to be one of their staples going into season 15.
Absolutely, and let's not forget that Tulsa recently just hired over 2 new coordinators from the SFLM. They have an offensive and defensive coordinator, so Dion is handing over the reins, so to speak. I'm not sure if he's going to be training those guys along the way, or if he's just going to give them the keys to the car, so to speak, as I've been known to say in the past. We have to wait and see. But knowing Dion like I think I know him, I'm just gonna take a stab at this, and my guess also is that he's gonna select Rosca Sanagria as well at cornerback.
So 2 thoughts for Rosca. Mike, are you in the same boat as far as that goes? You thinking Rosca make it a 3-pack on the analyst desk?
Yeah, right now, as Benji had mentioned, they only have 2 open spots on their roster. I think they go free safety or they go cornerback. Their offense is loaded. They got the gunslinger Nickens. They got one of the highest paid wide receivers in the league in Gabriel Manning. They got Corey Jones, who caught that Hail Mary in week 1 against Chicago. They got Mosley at tight end, and they got the workhorse Robinson in the backfield. Their offense is set. They need to replace Charles Ball. I think they go free safety. They go cornerback. The stat man might be the guy.
That very well could be the case. Well, we go to Oklahoma here in a second to see who is joining that Tulsa roster, and the pick is in. Let's get over to Commissioner Irvine for that selection.
With the 7th pick in the SFL Season 15 rookie draft, the Tulsa Desperados and owner Deion Hawkins right there on the screen select cornerback Cameron Shaw, Baltimore, Maryland. Denver, you're on the clock with the 8th pick.
Okay, so that takes Cameron Shaw off the board. The panel, for the most part, had the position correct, but not the player. Do you think there was something, Eddie, that Deion saw in Cameron Shaw that he didn't see in somebody like a Rosca Sanagria?
Not sure. I'm gonna have to hit up Deion after the show. That is a pick that I'm a bit shocked at more than any other so far. Not sure why he went that way, but I'm sure Deion has his reasons. As we all know, he's loaded on offense already, especially with the pickup of Manning. He's always been a gunslinger, so he has weapons, but cornerback was an obvious need, and he filled it. And it must have been something he saw in that gentleman to make him select him this high. So I can't wait to hit him up and ask him.
Yeah, well, congrats to Cameron Shaw for that, as we got a live look in at Deion's selection being made there. And Eddie, you know, being as close with him as you are, that Deion doesn't do things accidentally. There was a rhyme and reason to this somewhere.
Yes.
And it'll be interesting to see where that comes out. Mikey and Proda, cornerback. It was not Rosca. What's your thought?
No, it wasn't Roscoe, but it was definitely the position. And, the Albuquerque Adams cornerback, he led the league with 17 pass deflections. So Cameron Shaw, he knows how to roam around in that backfield. He knows how to get involved. He's got a good nose for the ball. He's a good leadership guy in the Discord. I know he fell in love with the league by watching Eddie Gage call games on 11 Sports. So I know he's got a really good attitude, and I think that's a good pick by Deion Hawkins. Like we all mentioned, that was one of the 2 spots that they needed to fill, and I like the pick.
I like it. As we go forward, let's talk about those Denver Night Wings. This is going to be a fun one. Jeremy Vega back in the fold from a game day perspective, which makes things very interesting at this selection at number 8. And let's talk with Coach Craven. Night Wings are on the clock right now. Do you have a thought as to where they go on as one half of the Vice Wars?
Well, Jeremy, I think, is probably one of the top 2 or 3 owners in the league. He's always got a plan. If he's back in it, he's got a plan.
That's a hot take.
Top 2 or 3. You could be in there too, Eddie. He's a contender. Let's just put it that way. Former champion, all of that stuff. He knows what he's doing. If I were to hazard a wild guess, I'm going to again say that offensive line. There's an argument for offensive line. But I think probably defensive end or defensive tackle. The thing about defensive tackle is, I think, if I remember correctly, all the defensive tackles are about the same value. So it's just a matter of if they've developed a relationship with somebody that they like and they want to take them there. So
which personality do they want to bring into the fold at this point?
Yeah.
And Eddie, I see you grinning over there, and I'm going to go to you because of that. What's your thought process for Denver?
Well, first and foremost, I was just talking to Deion, and he said the reason he selected him is because he's a straight up baller. He's aggressive, and he's low key, keeps to himself, and he's looking forward to having that kind of mentality on his squad. As for Denver, I'm not quite so sure what he's gonna do. Jeremy is also one of those guys who he keeps to himself, doesn't really talk about what he's going to do, what he's looking for in the draft. But if I'm guessing, just looking at their roster here, man, it's hard to figure out because he already has, at this point, 14 guys on his team. Maybe he goes defensive line. I don't know, but just have to wait and see.
Okay. So possibly defensive line. That's 2 votes for defensive line. Benji, let's go to you real quick and get you in on the conversation. Denver in a spot where they have a pretty decent roster already. Just got to put the pieces together and make the puzzle happen. What's your thought process for them going into this 8th selection?
Yeah, I think the others have hit on it, though. They do have a need on that defensive line. If I'm not mistaken, they might have a spot for 2 or 3 more players right there. So I think we might see them leaning towards defensive end, defensive tackle. They have an inside pipeline to the fuel with Coach Adam Weisman. And I know that some of our fuel players have been on the radar. I'm not going to say that's where he's going to go, but if this evening's been any indication thus far, if you're drafting a fuel, you're getting a great player there. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe that pipeline comes into play.
It's very possible. Well, you take a look at Jeremy Vega there. He has put his selection to the commissioner. The commissioner has it. So who's going to the Mile High City? We find out right now with Cameron Irvine on the mic.
With the 8th pick in the SFL's Season 15 rookie draft, the Denver Nightwings select cornerback Rosca Santagria out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Okay. Florida, you're on the clock with the 9th pick.
Well, would you look at that? Rosca Santagria taken off the board, and I dare say this might have been a case, Eddie, of best available versus team need. What's your thought?
Could be. I mean, he already has 2 corners on his roster. He's added a 3rd. As you can see, Rosca there celebrating. He's doing a thing, or whatever it is he's doing. I don't know, but I talked to him a few times, and he's an interesting personality. He's also laid back, very chill. As you can see,
right.
He's really happy right now because with this contract, he's going to be able to feed his family for the rest of his life. His mom can quit a job. His dad can, go off to doing whatever he wants to do. His family is set for generations to come. And as you can tell, he's very excited.
That's awesome. Well, I know Jeremy's excited to have him on that roster, and looks like he's excited to get picked up. So congratulations to you, Mr. Santagria. That is good stuff. That is very, very good quality television as we take a look at the live looking at the rookies. And Craven's loving it back there. I love it. Let's see if you can get yourself together here as we go to you. Your reaction to Rosca Santagria being taken off the board from the cornerback position.
Well, they obviously liked him. They had 2 cornerbacks already, but they obviously liked him, and Jeremy will fit him in just fine. He'll be a player for him, and I think it's a great pick. It's a great pick.
Absolutely.
He's going to fit in there great.
Mikey and Proda, your thoughts? Another defensive player taken off the board. That seems to be the theme of this first round so far.
Yeah, Rosca Santagria, just as Eddie said, he's got a unique personality. He brings a lot of energy to the league. He's got some really nice intangibles. He helps out doing the stats every single week. And his player was really good on defense. I thought he was going to go to Tulsa. He dropped to 1 pick. So Jeremy makes a solid pick character-wise. He makes a solid pick player-wise. I'm just kind of questioning need. I thought that he's really talked all off season about offensive line in the Discord. If you followed his conversations, I thought they were going to go defensive end or defensive tackle. But Rosca Santagria, the stat man from Philly, pack your bags. You're headed to the Mile High City, baby.
Yep, absolutely. And Benji, last reaction for that before we talk Florida. The pick for this with Rosca off the board, do you think they use him in a slot corner situation? Do they try to kind of mix him into the 1-2 spots to kind of mix things up from receiver versus defender kind of thing? Or do they maybe have a different plan?
Well, I think obviously they can afford now to play with that defense and find the right fit for Rosca there. They've got, as we already mentioned, those 2 previous cornerbacks ready to go. I think adding a 3rd is maybe not tipping the hats necessarily what the defensive scheme might be there in Denver, but I think maybe the idea that they can definitely play until they get the right combination there. I wouldn't be surprised to see all 3 cornerbacks on the field often, playing good defense there in the Mile High City.
I like it. I like it. All right, let's touch base on Florida as they're about halfway through their on the clock session here. And the Sunshine State has a team that is very, very proud of their Storm and Eddie Gage team needs. I mean, there's a case to be made. Ron Cochran, I wouldn't say he's slowing down. That's not the case. I think
Not at
he's
all.
still a very, very good quarterback. And but they did not have their greatest season last season, and that attributed to some team needs.
Yeah, he did not, but they had some transition last season. Mighty RX, Mike's Paws, you know him. He started the season off as their play caller, and then they had a change right after the season started, and then that didn't work out, and Mighty took the reins over once again. This season, he's vowed to bring them back to the promised land and get them back respectable once again, back in the playoffs, and he's going to be taking over both sides of the ball. And if I'm guessing here, they moved Doyle over to tailback. So maybe they draft a fullback. Maybe they would try to replace Frank Champion, who moved on to one of the new teams, and maybe they select a linebacker. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah,
You got it, Eddie. You got it. I'm with you, brother.
We will see right now. The Sunshine State is reloading and getting ready to go. Florida ready with their selection. Cameron Irvine, you're on.
With the 9th pick in the SFL Season 15 rookie draft, the Florida Storm select linebacker Eric Hammer, Dallas, Texas. Las
All
Vegas,
day.
you're on the clock with the 10th pick.
All right, so it is Hammer time down in the Sunshine State. Eric Hammer is off the board, the linebacker. And with that said, we will break that pick down and a whole lot more as the first round of the SFL Season 15 rookie draft rolls on 11 Sports. And for the fans, stay with us.
Love the headband, by the way, Mikey.
Oh, it's like 90 degrees over.
With that, welcome back into round 1 of the Season 15 Simulation Football League draft. We just had Florida make their selection, and they picked a pretty good one. Eric Hammer, the linebacker, is off the board, and let's talk to Benji Matson first and get your reaction to them going defensive on their first pick of this draft.
Yeah, great pick by the Florida Storm. It was a position of need. Eric Hammer has been a great player in the minor leagues this year. He's going to be a great leader for them as he steps into play. We see some of his highlights here. He just had a fantastic season for Annapolis, leading them into the playoffs. And I think he's going to step right into his role with the Storm right off the bat. continue his excellent play there. So I don't think I think this is a great pick for the Florida Storm. Not sure if he was who they expected for that pick or expected him to be there, I guess I should say, but I think they're going to be glad to have him in camp.
So it's interesting because we soon forget that we are just 2 days removed from the end of the SFL minor league season. So a lot of these guys are getting over, especially those that played in the championship game, getting over that championship hangover just to realize where their regular season is going to start in just about a month's time or so. Eddie Gage, your thoughts on Eric Hammer?
Well, I just got off the phone with Mighty RX, and I asked him, what made you decide to draft this guy? And he says he loved his value. He has just as much as he valued his value, he also values his character. He's a high quality character guy. He loves him. He's also going to contribute in multiple ways other than just being a player. So, again, he needed someone to replace Frank Champion, who was one of the higher paid players on the team for Florida last season, and they're on their way with this pick.
Fair enough. As we go from the Sunshine State to Sin City, it is Las Vegas that is on the clock currently. Mikey and Proda, let's talk about the Fury real quick. They were fighting for a playoff spot down to the last couple weeks of the season, one season ago, and they have some needs. Where do you think they're looking with that roster that they've got?
Yeah, Las Vegas Fury, they fought very hard. They beat the Atlanta Swarm the last game of the season to go 6-6, and they still didn't get into the playoffs. What is it got to do? But I think right here they lost a huge player in Robert Redford. He went over to Vancouver. I think they look nowhere else but to the number one running back in the SFL minors. I think they look at the Fox. He's out of Tennessee. He was the best runner in the minor leagues. I think Fox Highwind, he fills the need. That's what they're going to try and do, and that's my selection, Fox Highwind. There's nothing more to say about that. Pretty easy in my mind.
Okay, fair enough. Let's talk to Benji Madsen. Fox Highwind was a part of the minor league system. Where do you think they go?
Yeah, I think that would be a great pick. Obviously, there at that number one spot. They also have a huge need on the defense side of the ball too. I know the picks in, but they don't go running back. Maybe something in that front seven too is a big need for Las Vegas.
Fair enough. You see that banner on the bottom of the screen there. The pick is ready for Sin City. Who's going to join them in Vegas? Cameron Irvine has the answer.
With the 10th pick in the SFL's Season 15 rookie draft, the Las Vegas Fury select kicker Otis Boudreau.
Wow.
With the 10th pick.
Yeah.
Mexico City, you're on the clock with the 11th selection.
Wow.
Really? Okay. That is not a typo. They went kicker, top 10. It's Otis Boudreau. And Eddie, I see you over there. Give me your thoughts.
Well, there are a lot of kickers here available to be drafted this season. As Mikey stated earlier, they just lost probably their biggest weapon on offense in Robert Redford to Vancouver. And I just knew that either Fox Highwind, but my pick was Ezekiel Love falling to them. They decided to go kicker, and it must have been other than just a player. They must have saw something in his personality, his on the field, off the field behavior that made him decide to draft him. Perhaps he brings something additional. Maybe he's willing to help with the stats team or something of that nature. But wow, I'm speechless right now. I'm at a loss for words right now.
Definite shock at number 10. And Mikey and Proda, there is not a price that can be put on a very good kicker in this league. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But you gotta have at least a one question mark above your head for this pick at 10.
One question mark. I got about 35 question marks. I don't know what these guys are thinking over there. I mean, Otis Boudreau's a great guy. I've talked to him many times over. He brings a lot of value to the league. But when you're looking to fill positions and you take a kicker with the 10th pick overall,
right.
I don't know what Vegas is trying to do. Maybe they're lining up from the 50 and they're going to be kicking 65-yard field goals all day long. But you got a running back spot to fill. You got two big players out there, Ezekiel Love and Fox Highwind. I'm shocked. I'm shocked.
Well, going away from that, though, they have more picks in this draft. So we'll see if they can maybe fill some of those holes. They obviously saw something in this kid to get him where they got him. So we'll see. But we move from Vegas. We move south of the border to Mexico City, the Season 9 SFL champion Mexico City Aztecs with company over there. They have perennially had a good team. They find themselves with a kind of unexpected hole for reasons. And do you think they try to fill that hole right away, Coach Craven?
They could, but no, I think they're going to surprise us. Looking at their needs, defensive tackle's possibility. I'm not 100% sure they're going to fill that halfback spot. Again, just a gut feeling. I could be completely wrong, but I don't think they're going there right now.
Okay. All right, Eddie, you in agreement with that? You think or no?
I think perhaps rosters have not locked yet. I don't know, but maybe they try to move their fullback, Phoenix Jones, down the tailback and have him playing there. He was a smallish. Actually, he's quite skinny for a fullback, honestly. Maybe they have him go there for a season until possibly Ray returns and have him try him out there. I don't know. That's Ramos, he's another one close to the vest. I'm not quite sure what he's doing, but if he does not move Phoenix down to tailback, that's going to open up, I don't know, so many different possibilities of where he may go. Maybe he does something, I don't know, with adding another linebacker. We'll see. Right now he has Dexter Jackson on his squad, but I don't know. We've been shocked so far plenty of times already. We'll just have to wait and see.
And Ramos is one that's kind of a mystery bag as well. He can shock you with some things that he does, but he definitely has a good football mind. So whatever he's going to do, he's going to do it in the best interest, no doubt. But that was my thought. Boom, Phoenix Jones back down to tailback, and maybe see what they can work with that. We'll see if that's how they go. Benji, your thoughts on the Aztecs going in with that new hole? Obviously, do they try to address the running situation, or do they maybe try to touch something on the rest of the offense?
Well, that's why they don't pay us the big bucks. That's why we're wrong most of the time here. It was I could have sworn we would have seen Fox go off the board, pick a go. And are we going to start to talk about a running back like Fox Highwind starting to fall? Mexico City here, they might have plans for their fullback to move him up. Are they going to leave Fox Highwind on the board here? There's a lot of value on the defensive side of the ball here, even at linebacker. So they can use this first pick for. They could surprise us with it. They probably have a plan in place. It'd be interesting to see if they choose to move away from running back spot and go with maybe someone on the defensive front like A.K. Jones or big Igor Barbatov there at the defensive tackle spot. Or there's still a lot of great value on that linebacker position. Devin King, on a lot of mocks, was projected to go earlier. So they've got their pick of the litter there still on that linebacker position. So, again, that's why they don't pay us the big bucks.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, the funny thing about this, about even if you have a plan at this pick, you then have a Fox Highwind who does not get picked the pick before you, where most analysts would have agreed that's where he was probably going, whether you're an analyst with the league or whether you're a Discord analyst, as it were. That's definitely where the thought was, and looks like we don't have to wait very much longer though. Mexico City's made their selection, and we'll see who joins Ramos south of the border as we go to Cameron Irvine with that selection.
With the 11th pick of the SFL's Season 15 rookie draft, the Mexico City Aztecs select defensive tackle Andre Krim, Ontario, Canada. St. Louis, you're on the clock with the 12th pick of the first round.
Wow.
Okay. So Andre Krim, defensive tackle, taken off the board. And Eddie, they did not address the running back situation. They went defensive line. And I see you over there. You have some thoughts on this. Go ahead and shoot them at me.
I do. Krim is in general chat every day, all day. Sometimes I wonder if he's employed. He's in there so much. But he's constantly putting out social media content, always asking the whole world who will listen, where is Krim gonna go? And now we know he's going to Mexico City. He's a personality, but Ramos has been known to pull the trigger on personalities, and he's got one here. So we'll see how it works out. But I'm sure he's talked to him. I mean, to select the guy this high, he must have had some deep conversations with him. And I'm guessing that Krim has kept this on a low because he has been quite outspoken speaking to owners. He's been in my DM every day asking about his draft status. So congrats on Mexico City and getting this young man.
Yeah, and Mexico City, like a lot of other SFL locker rooms, but Mexico City is one of the top few as far as locker room culture and as far as like a family type environment. And I mean, and Mikey and Proto, you feel that with Chicago. Let's go to you with that type of scope on this, that type of optic on this, as we take a look at the Mexico City culture. How does Andre fit into that? As outspoken as he's been, although he's been very respectful when he's done that.
Yeah, Andre Krim, defensive tackle out of Burlington, Ontario, Canada. I think he's a great pick. He's on social media, as Eddie said. He contributes a lot in the Discord, so he has a strong presence, and that's certainly what the Mexico City Aztecs do. You can't speak enough about the culture of a locker room. Obviously, I don't know what it's like to be in Mexico City, but in Chicago, that really is the lifeblood to keep the team together. That's really what during the week before the games and after the games keeps everybody so fired up, looking forward to the next game. And it keeps everybody involved. They want to be part of the league. They want to do more. They bring the intangibles, and it really starts with the locker room. I am a little surprised with that pick. Not the person that they picked, but I'm surprised of the position that they picked. I thought they were going to go and maybe get something in the secondary with strong safety. Right now, all they have is Matthew Lee, and I'm not sure if he's strong enough to handle that secondary by himself. He's a copper player. He's only got a value of 58.4 points in his build, so I really thought that was the direction that Ramos was going to go, but they get the Grim Reaper at defensive end, and that's a good pick.
I like that. Let's move into the gateway to the West, though. We go away from Mexico City. We go to St. Louis, which has been a massive topic of discussion over the offseason before season 15 gets going, and it's for obvious reasons. And I'm gonna pick on Eddie Gage here because you had a lot of video content on YouTube going up to the things happening with Johnny Pickler. And was there an inside thought that maybe early on he was not going to come back to the Gladiators, or that this kind of put them in a position where they're very similar to where they were at last season?
First and foremost, let me put this plug out there. For those of you who don't already, make sure you subscribe to the Arizona Scorpions YouTube page to see exactly what Chris Curtis is talking about. But Johnny Pickler, as I've stated before, he's had many conversations with everyone on that staff, but Gerald seems to me he spoke of him very highly all the time. And once he left and was awarded his own team, in my opinion, perhaps that was Johnny's ticket out of St. Louis. I don't know that for sure. I'm not on the inside, but he made his decision late to join Gerald. He talked to Atlanta, he talked to Fort Worth, he talked to Gerald, but he also talked to St. Louis too. And I take him at his word for it. He said he had heavy discussions about staying with St. Louis. He doesn't want to be known for jumping from team to team. And he says wherever he was going to land, whether it be St. Louis or eventually Louisiana, that he was going to retire with that team. We'll see if he does that. But yeah, I mean, his relationship with Gerald is strong. But he like I said, he's also on the record for stating that Colin and Dwayne have been mainstays as well. So
yeah, well, we'll see if they go ahead and address that gap that has been left by Johnny Pickler at this point. St. Louis's pick is in. Who's going to join them at the gateway to the West? We find out now.
And first, I want to give a special shout out to Otis Boudreau of Madison, Mike Twinscrew of Madison, and Cameron Curtis of Annapolis. They put together these highlight packages for these rookies tonight that you'll see throughout the draft and here in round one. So huge props to those guys, and huge props to you, Mike and Proda, who put together a lot of great data on rookies, where they're from, some great information about them as well. So we've got a lot of people working hard in the SFL, and we really appreciate everybody's help and support. With the 12th pick in the SFL Season 15 rookie draft, the St. Louis Gladiators select, well, they're not on the clock anymore. They have a pick in, and it is free safety Gerald Winkler.
Whoa.
Charleston's on the clock with pick 13.
Okay, so take Winkler off the board at the free safety position, the first free safety we've seen taken off the board tonight in round 1. And I'm going to pick on Benji to start things off here. Your reaction to that, the fact that they don't go after a quarterback with their first round pick, and that's really a kind of a shock.
I love it. This is a great pick for St. Louis. Winkler, fuel teammate, great guy. They're getting a quality guy here. He's going to go to bat for him right away. Play great defense in that backfield. The free, maybe we take a look at the quarterback position, take a look at the running backs. Now we talk about Fox. We know the quarterback spot, lots of depth. A free safety spot, maybe not quite as deep this year as that quarterback, as that running back spot. We haven't even drafted a wide receiver yet. It's loaded. So I think that maybe St. Louis felt comfortable here, maybe spending this first pick on another piece that they need fill this puzzle of theirs. And once they have that in place and they can concentrate, we know they're going to need a big 3 still. They need that trio on the offensive side of the ball: quarterback, running back, wide receiver. They even need a tight end. So you know that they're going to be concentrating on the offensive side of the ball for the rest of their draft here. But I'm not upset or confused by this pick of Winkler at the free safety spot for St. Louis.
Yeah, that's kind of a hot take in my opinion, but to each their own as that goes. You know him better than we do as far as that player is concerned. Eddie Gage, your thoughts? They did not go quarterback.
They did not go quarterback, but here's my thought, and I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
As was stated just now, there is great value at quarterback. There are a number of them available, and they are thinking we need to fill needs that don't quite have as much availability from in terms of value. Now, the key with that is, as I stated earlier, quarterback is the most important position in football. As much as I hate to admit it, as a defensive player, it's the truth. Now, whether they get the guy that they're looking at is going to be yet to be determined. I mean, between them and Atlanta and company, we have to wait and see. But yeah, Gerald, if you look at him, he's 6 feet tall, big guy for a free safety. He brings the most value at that position, and perhaps that's what they were looking at.
Mike and Proto, I'll give you 10 words or less if you can. Your thoughts on them not going this way? I think what they may say is correct, but what do you think on it?
In 10 words, I don't think I can have an answer in 10 words or less. This is unbelievable.
And you're already at 10 words. There you go.
Unbelievable.
I was just giving you a hard time. Go ahead.
To me, they had to go quarterback. That's the most important position on the field. If there's a guy out there that's got the highest value, in my mind, the top 2 quarterbacks that I had ranked, Dynasty and Javier Vasquez, are on the board. Right now, Mark Chisholm is sitting back, and he's just waiting for his guy to fall to him. Atlanta is probably going to have the biggest steal in this draft. You watch. I'm really shocked. I love Dwayne. I love Colin. I love Freeman Pelletier. I want to see that St. Louis Gladiator franchise succeed. I hope Gerald Winkler gets 35 interceptions this year. I think they should have went QB.
Okay. All right. That's a pretty nice take on it. I like it. And now let's go ahead. Let's move into the ocean a bit and talk about Charleston. And I'm going to pick on Coach Craven for Charleston. Give me your thoughts going into their draft for their first round selection. They were middle of the pack last season. They were decent, but they definitely have some room to improve.
Well, Charleston values defense. I know we got fortunate and took one of their defensive ends. I could see them replacing Yogi Barr, their cornerback. They like their defensive backs as well. Again, broken record here. There's a solid argument to be had for offensive line. They have that 2 tight end set. You put an offensive lineman on there. They've got some pretty good blocking for Cheetah.
Fair enough.
And so, one of these times I'm going to be right about the offensive lineman. But any one of those 3, if you held my feet to the fire, I'd say defensive end. I think they replaced the defensive end.
Well, fair enough. We'll see if Craven's correct and he's on the money. We have Charleston's pick, and we're going to send it back to Cameron Irvine for that selection.
With the 13th pick in the SFL's Season 15 rookie draft, the Charleston Predators select offensive lineman Butch Menner out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Jacksonville, you're on the clock with the 14th pick.
All right, so Jacksonville Kings are on the clock. Butch Menner out of the Steel City. joins the Charleston group. And Craven, we're going to go to you immediately. You were finally correct, so go ahead and gloat to the rest of us that you were correct about your offensive lineman choice, and give us your thoughts on the selection.
It was almost a no-brainer. I mean, offensive line, once it opened up, it's not sexy, but it's good. Just good luck. Good luck trying to defend that 2 tight end set with an offensive lineman. They want to run stretch or inside trap or any of those things, and now they've got at least 3 blockers, and who knows what they do in the supplemental. Good luck trying to defend that. That's going to be, I think that's a great idea. It's a great pick. I love seeing it. I'm looking forward to seeing how it turns out.
Yeah, and Mikey and Proto, this is a team that offensively was a very, very good team 1 season ago. They start shoring up the middle and getting their running game going by opening up holes in the middle. Look out, because this team could make the leap going forward.
I like the pick. Finally, a pick that I really, really like. Elam Artemis, now he's starting to think strategy. Now he's starting to think a little bit deeper into how this game is won and lost, and that starts in the trenches. They need to protect TD True. They have an all-star gold halfback in Keith Swearingen, and to pick up an offensive lineman like Butch Menor, he's going to be tough to deal with, and Keith Swearingen is going to be a happy, happy guy when he walks through the locker room door.
Well, that being said, Jacksonville is on the clock. We'll get to their pick and talk about them when we come back to the Season 15 SFL Rookie Draft on 11 Sports and For the Fans. Stay with us. And with that, welcome back into the Simulation Football League Season 15 Rookie Draft Panel. I am Chris Curtis. I'm joined by Eddie Gage, Mikey Improta, Brian Craven, and who are you? Benji Metzen. How's it going? We are on Jacksonville's pick. As we get back into it here, we just had Charleston's selection. Let's talk about the Kings, who are perennially in the conversation for very, very good team and always going to go deep with in most situations. Let's talk about their needs going forward. And I'm going to go to you, Eddie Gage, as the most senior member of this group. What is your thoughts on Jacksonville's strategy here?
That depends on who you ask. Myself, I believe linebackers are one of the biggest keys to any defense, no matter what scheme you're running. They can be used quite well. Frank, on the other hand, owner of Jacksonville, he doesn't believe in that theory. So him and I, we disagree on that opinion. But they lost both Sir Chappelle to retirement and Anthony Wayo, who's joined me in Arizona. And they were one of them. I think they had 6 DBs on their roster last season. So perhaps they look to replace those guys, or maybe decide to run with a traditional defense this season, now that Sir Chappelle isn't calling plays on defense. We'll just have to wait and see. But that's my guess if they keep that same philosophy.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And Benji Matson, let's talk about maybe we expand the linebacker conversation. And if Eddie is right, maybe they go that way. There's plenty of value left on that linebacker board currently.
Yeah, absolutely. If they stay traditional, we've had our top 3 linebackers drafted off the board. We've got some great picks here left, including Jeff Gagne, Devin King still on the board, Clay Jones, Gary Marks, Katie Horrell still on the board. That's a lot of great value in that linebacker position. You can't go wrong picking any of those players at that spot here for Jacksonville. They also have a need on the defensive line up front. Defensive end and defensive tackle, I believe they need to fill both spots there. But that linebacking, if we're going to talk defensive end, defensive tackle, linebacker, I think there is a diamond in the rough here, or jewel, if you will, in this linebacker course somewhere. Wouldn't be surprised if Jacksonville takes a stab at drafting one of those talented LBs with this pick.
Things like finding jewels, no doubt about that one. They have a fealty to shiny things sometimes. That being said, as far as royalty goes, Mikey and Proda, this is a team that is perennially very good, and that a lot of credit goes to Frank Gooden being able to do things in the salary cap that they're able to do. Do you have a thought process and a beat on what they're thinking going into this one?
I don't know what Frank is thinking. I don't know what the beat of the drum is pounding, but when you have an offensive quarterback like Christensen, I think they go wide receiver or tight end.
Okay. All right, so you're thinking offense. Well, we don't have to wait very long. The other Sunshine State team has their selection in. Let's go to Cameron Irvine for that pick.
Thank you, Chris. With the 14th selection in the SFL's Season 15 rookie draft, the Jacksonville Kings select cornerback Rain Rowe of Moss Point, Mississippi. Baltimore, you're on the clock with the 15th selection.
All right. So the only state, I believe, with 4 S's in the name, Mississippi, has a product, and it's Rain Rowe. Cornerback gets selected by the Jacksonville Kings. And I'm going to go to you, Eddie, defensive side of the ball. Maybe not necessarily where you were thinking, as you were thinking linebacker, but the secondary gets a little bit of a boost here.
Well, yeah, as I mentioned earlier, they lost Wayo and Sir Chappelle, who were both their safeties for the team last season. So, they moved their second free safety down to the 3-3, had him in a slot, which traditionally you see a corner at playing. But this season, they're going to go with a corner at that slot position. And, they also could have went defensive line, too, as they're one of the few teams who like to use 3 or 4 defensive linemen on their squad. So I just knew it was going to be defense. It's just a matter of where.
That's fair enough. So the Jacksonville has made their pick, Mr. Improda. They go corner with Rain, and still a lot of value on that defensive side of the ball, and the draft is loaded with defensive players. Did they get the pick right at that position?
I think it's a good selection. Rain Rio, he's a good character pick. I thought they were going to go more offense. I guess they had some flexibility, as Eddie mentioned, linebacker, free safety. They lost Chappelle and Wayo, but Hunter Jones, I think people forgot Hunter Jones, their wide receiver 3. They lost him. They got Jack Wall, who's very serviceable, but for me, with his build right now and his points, only 69.6, to me, he's more of a tight end too. That's why I thought maybe they might round out the offense and pick up a wide receiver or a tight end 1.
If you take a look at Chad Rowland there on the screen, but let's talk about Baltimore as we go to the Vultures here. They're also a team that's perennially in a really good spot in the standings, season after season. It seems last couple for sure, and it's no small feat, no small part given to T-Roy Gaines, who's been a real big stalwart on that roster at the running back position. They built the offense around him. He's done very, very well. And Benji, let's talk to you for a moment. As far as team needs for the Vultures, do you think they start to work on some of the defense a little bit here with the offense? They may have some holes, but they're pretty good.
Yeah, their team's approaching. They're filling up their team here in draft with just a few picks. So maybe looking at that need at defensive tackle, perhaps right here with this pick. just trying to look over the roster really fast. There might still be in need of a fullback, which we haven't seen come off the board yet. Lots of depth at that defensive tackle spot too. Some good fullbacks in the draft today. I'm not sure. Have no idea where they're going to go with this pick, but they can't go wrong. Lots of depth across the board.
Yep, that's very good. And going to you, Coach Craven, Baltimore on the clock, and what do they need to do to kind of, I wouldn't even say reload, just amp up and add to the positions that they've got?
Well, defensive tackle makes sense. But again, broken record. There's an argument for offensive line. There's still some value guys. There's also an argument for fullback to get a lead blocker for T-Roy, really round out that offense. Any one of those is a solid pick. Value-wise, I'd probably go fullback or offensive line.
It's interesting you say that because we have had no fullbacks picked to this point in the first round after we had a plethora of fullbacks picked a season ago at the live
There's
draft.
not as many spots.
Chris, all the good ones went last season.
All the good ones the last season, Mikey says. All right, I got you. I like it. I like it.
Just think of T-Roy Gaines with the lead blocker.
Yeah. But think of him with an offensive lineman as well.
Mm-hmm.
Scary thought. And Eddie, you echoing those sentiments?
I do, actually. I've been simming games against Baltimore the past 3 weeks, and wow, T-Roy is a monster. And wow, he ran over 3 guys on one play, but I digress. Imagine him having a fullback leading the way for him. Oh, my goodness. Or perhaps a pulling guard. Jeez. I mean, they did have some transition in their secondary. They lost Thornberry, who's been a mainstay there for quite some time now. And they signed Chris Dodd to play as a replacement, but he was a free safety in Queen City last season. To see him move over the corner now, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, how he transitions from safety to corner. But yeah, my guess, fullback, offensive line.
Okay. That's fair. And Baltimore still working on getting their pick in, but you take a look. I mean, do they go safe? And in Proda, I'm going to pick on you to expand on your point a little bit. Do they go safe and go with the defensive tackle, in your opinion? I mean, your life's not on the line, but let's pretend it is. Or do they put the lead blocker in front of T-Roy and just have the mentality of, hey, let's outscore everybody and just see how far it takes us?
Well, as Eddie alluded to, I mean, Baltimore is a very strong team. They finished second at 8-4, so they're not doing anything wrong. They're just looking to reload. I think they're very, very solid on both sides of the ball. This is a tricky team to figure out. They can go anywhere. I think right now they have one spot to fill. Thornberry left. To me, they could go fullback to make it a little bit easier for T-Roy, but he does just fine without the fullback. Let's be honest here.
Yeah, that's not wrong.
T-Roy Gaines is an all-star. This guy puts up monster numbers. For me, I think Baltimore goes defensive tackle or free safety.
Yeah, that's that'd be the safe pick. That'd be the safe pick, and we'll see if indeed they go that way. For those curious as to what you're watching, what we're doing here, what we are doing in the Simulation Football League Season 15 draft. There have been 14 seasons before us, none as big as this one. If you want to go from couch to field and be a member of the Simulation Football League community, you can do so. That is using the website, simulationfl.net. You can grab the Discord link and join our awesome community. It is a controllerless esport where you have no control over the player on screen, but you're represented by a player on one of 22 independent franchises in the league. The Vultures pick is in with no further delay. Let's see who is joining the Baltimore roster with Cameron Irvine on the mic.
You're going to like this one, Mikey. With the 15th pick in the SFL rookie draft, the Baltimore Vultures select cornerback Ben Stackenpaper from South Deerfield, Massachusetts. Queen City, you're on the clock with the 16th selection.
Ben Stackenpaper, probably one of top 3 names in the SFL draft this season, maybe across the entire league. Mike and Proto, we're going to go to you first, based on Cameron's prodding. Stackenpaper off the board at cornerback, safe selection.
I love it. He's from New England. He's a New England Patriots fan. He's probably going to be playing like Hall of Famer Ty Law, taking over Thornberry's position in the secondary. That was one of the needs. They didn't go free safety. They went cornerback, but that's where they needed the help. I love that pick.
That's
Excellent
funny.
pick by TJ and the Baltimore Vultures. They're going to be tough to beat this year.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Any agreements for the stack and paper pick? I mean, and you gotta love that name, no?
You gotta love it. It stuck out to me when he was introduced to the SFLM. I was like, wow, this guy, he is probably an outspoken character to say the least, and he's probably going to be one of their most vocal guys in the locker room as well. But at 6'3", he's the second tallest corner in this draft. And we talked about Chris Dodd moving over from safety to corner, so perhaps they want to help transition him into that role. We have to wait and see. But Baltimore, I mean, I faced them week 12, and they've always been a powerhouse, and they just keep the train rolling here.
Yeah, that's about right. That's about right. Getting on to the next selection here, it is Queen City, and the 4-time champs. While they had a deep run last season, it was the first time they'd been there in a little while. Where do they go from here is going to be the question. Eddie, I'm going to pick on you for a second time in a row. They have some holes. Where do you think they try to fill them with a decent amount of their offense returning?
Ben Garcia, defensive tackle, played there last season, and I've been simming against them too. He was a handful. He's a load, especially when he's lined up as the nose guard directly up over the center. He is a problem, and he is no longer on their roster due to some attitude issues. He's been relieved from SFL duty, so to speak, and I think they may look to replace him. So I'm thinking defensive tackle here.
Yeah, something on the defensive line. That might not be wrong. Picking on you, Coach Craven. Haven't heard from you in a little bit. Let's talk to you about the Corsairs, where you think they're going to go with the situation at hand.
I think it's Tina Begin at defensive tackle, straight up. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that's the pick. It's a good pick. It makes complete sense to me.
It looks like whoever it is, Barkley's really happy to get him.
Yes, he is.
As you take a look at our live owner cam there, as the pick has essentially been made, just not communicated as of this moment. See if anybody that reads lips in chat can definitely give us a scope as to who he's going with. But the 4-time champs looking to reload their first trip deep into the playoffs in quite some time. They've been in first round, maybe second round, and hadn't gotten much farther than that previously, at least in the last few seasons. But I think they've finally got something figured out with Caswell and company. We'll see if that's the case. And talking to you, Benji, do you think the Tina Begin pick makes sense, or do they maybe go elsewhere?
Oh, maybe Coach knows something there. He's a wise man, smarter than I am. I think Tina is a great pick if we're going to talk defensive tackle there. We know there's great depth. We keep coming back to that term, but at that defensive tackle position, we still have quite a few fantastic players left and ready to go. So I have no qualms with the Tina Begin pick at that defensive tackle spot.
I like it. And that's maybe where they end up. Mikey and Proda, will touch base on you again. I'll give you this time I'll give you 15 words or less.
Wow.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, you obviously know where you're going, but they had a nice signing. They picked up Deezer Powell to replace Hacker at wide receiver. They certainly have you on the outside. I think you guys go defensive tackle or defensive end, maybe Bernie or Igor Barbatov, but Begin would be a great pick too.
All right. Well, the Corsairs pick
she's from
is
Rhode Island, by the way.
Say again.
She's from Rhode Island, by the way. So
another Northeasterner. Got it.
Heck
All
of a
right. Let's see where the Corsairs go. 4-time champs on the clock, looking to reload. Who is it, Cam?
With the 16th pick of the SFL's Season 15 rookie draft, the Queen City Corsairs select offensive lineman Alexander Netrauer from Kansas. Vancouver, you're on the clock with the 17th selection.
Okay. Well, Alexander Netrauer, you are no longer in Kansas anymore. Welcome to Queen City. And that is the pick, offensive lineman. The one time the offensive lineman was picked that Coach Craven didn't call it. And let's talk to Coach Craven about it. They went to try to shore up the offensive line, moving Jet Zero, I believe, to running back if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Gives him possibly some holes to run through in the middle.
Yeah, well, it's a good pick. Okay, I thought that was low hanging fruit, my pick when I said Tina, but Alexander was on our team in San Jose. I know him pretty well. He's a good guy. Obviously, they liked him personally. In offensive line with 20 roster spots, why you wouldn't go offensive line at least in one of those, I don't know. So
yeah,
I like it.
Okay, and then Mike and Proto, I'll give you more than 15 words this time. What's your thought on the offensive line pick?
Yeah, I thought that they were going to go defensive tackle or defensive end, but I'm really not surprised to see him go offensive line, especially last year with the lack of run game that Queen City had. And you could probably tell me the percentage wise, Chris, on play calls, you guys threw the ball a lot last year. You weren't very effective on the ground, and I think that's really where you guys struggled, and that's where your season came to an end in the playoffs because you weren't as effective as you really wanted to be to move the ball. So I think Eric made a wise decision, and I think Nutsy Nettroyer, that's the offensive line nickname for Alexander, is going to make a big difference for Jet Zero in the backfield for sure.
I like it. Let's move away from the Corsairs. Let's talk about the enigma that is the Vancouver Legion. I say the enigma because the enigma is Andy Hamilton. He has made it a personal goal of his to sign every single broadcaster in the SFL to his team. just to try to shore up things for Mike Daggs. I don't know. But either way, he's a heck of a dude, no doubt about it. And he has a heck of a team. They made a deep run in the postseason last season. Let's talk about the Legion as we go forward. Eddie Gage, put your mind, if possible, or put your mind in the mind of Andy Hamilton, if possible, and kind of maybe translate what he may be thinking.
You would go to me first, Chris, but Vancouver lost a lot of talent on their roster this past off season. Lone Star being formed by Charles over there, whose last name I mispronounced earlier this week, so I won't even attempt to do it this time. But they lost their offensive linemen. They lost a lot of weapons on offense. But as I told Andy Hamilton the other day, earlier this week, they gained a lot in free agency this offseason, and they rebounded quite well. As you can see him over there now celebrating his pick. Whoever he got, I'm assuming he's happy he landed to him because he's over there ecstatic right now. Which way they lean, I'm not even quite sure. I mean, they already have 15 guys on their roster right now, including DeAndre Washington, who came out of his brief retirement. No comment, but they're happy over there, and we'll see what he does. I'm not quite sure. Of all the teams I've been thinking about this team, I don't know which way they're going to lean, to be honest with you.
Mikey and Proto, you and I have both interacted with Andy Hamilton on a number of occasions, being in the positions that we are with this league. Put yourself in the mind of Andy Hamilton, maybe from a positioning standpoint. Does he try to fill one of the major holes right now? Obviously, he lost Sudo Nakai. Does he try to fill that hole right away?
Well, they got a running back in free agency, so there isn't any hole there for Vancouver. Robert Redford went over to Andy's team, and I got to be honest with you guys. I had a lot of pre-draft preparation with Andy. He gave me a lot of inside scoop, and I can't thank him enough. This guy's so passionate about the SFL. He does his homework. He burns the candle on both ends, and I know he goes through a pretty thorough interviewing and grading process when he makes his picks. I think he goes D-line right here. I think he likes Mike All, and if all you need is a great player, Mike All is probably the pick.
I'll see if that's indeed it. Who is going to join the eternal frost in the Pacific Northwest? We find out right now. Cameron Irvine, you're up.
With the 17th pick in the SFL's Season 15 rookie draft, the Vancouver Legion select defensive end Michael Percoco. Atlanta, you're on the clock with the 18th selection.
Okay. So the pick is in. Percoco goes to Vancouver. That's a fun pick. It may not be the sexiest, but you know what? It puts something on the defensive line to put pressure on the quarterback, and you got to love that, Benji Madsen.
You can see how thrilled he is.
I think they probably got their guy there, Chris.
They probably got their guy. Yep, there he is. Yep. He's excited. He's it. Oh,
Yeah. Oh, look at that.
Whoa,
Oh
he's
my
got pictures of
gosh.
Andy. Look at this.
Now I see why he got drafted.
it's a framed
Is that
picture of Andy
signed?
Hamilton.
Yep.
Did
What
they
is
sell
this?
that in the Vancouver Legion Stage 6 store? Did he buy that in the store?
That's amazing.
What does
That
that
is
go for?
amazing. Oh, the reaction is great. Let's talk about Percoco. Benji Madsen, give me your
Oh.
thought process. Defensive end for Vancouver. Good pick, bad pick, indifferent?
Oh no, I think we've all seen Michael play during the minors, and we know he's a great guy. And I think I just saw something in the chat Andy might have posted. We got our guy. So obviously you see here by the reaction, they were hoping that Michael fell to the Legion today. This was indeed their pick. I think they're excited to move forward with him.
Yep, very good. And talking to Coach Craven, talking about Vancouver, put yourself in the mind of Andy Hamilton. I know it's a dangerous place, but do they continue with the defense going forward, or do they kind of just start to work the offense from rounds 2 through 7?
Well, I still think Andy's going to want to replace the offensive lineman that went with us, the Lone Star. So I think that's going to happen at some point, either supplemental or later. He did need a defensive end because, like Kevin Brackett, moved back to linebacker after Doug and I left. And I think that was always the plan, was for Kevin to move to linebacker. So they needed a defensive end. Obviously, Coco's happy to be there, and Andy's happy to have him. Looks like a match made in heaven.
There you go. There you go. I like it. Good reactions on both sides. Vancouver seems to have gotten their guy. Now let's talk about the season 14 SFL champions, the Atlanta Swarm. And let's talk about the blue and green for a second as far as team needs go. And Eddie, I'm going to pick on you again first.
Of course.
With this particular team. And this is a team that they just won a title. What do they have to do the hardest thing in sports and try to repeat?
Atlanta, Mark Chisholm.
Mm-hmm.
I respect the guy, but I get so envious of him at the same time. We talk almost daily, and it seems like he is just loaded at every position, and particularly on offense. I don't know what he's going to do here. Well, I have some inside information, but who knows? He might be pulling my leg. I think he may decide to give Swole some help on that defensive line. And, like I say, maybe he goes defensive end here. I don't know. Maybe he looks to replace his kicker and surprise us all with a second kicker selected in the first round. But we'll wait and see.
Okay, fair enough. And let's go to you, Coach Craven, this time, and talk about Atlanta. You just won a title in the SFL. Just going to put yourself in their shoes for a second. What's left to reload at this point? Or do you kind of sit on your laurels a little bit and just go after the best player available?
Well, again, quarterback's low-hanging fruit. So they could take that and nobody blink at it. But again, it's a buyer's market at quarterback. Maybe they could get a really good quarterback later. I hate to say that, but they could get a really good quarterback later. Having said that, I've been saying all in the off season that you're more than the number next to your name, and Bryant Dynasty, even if he's not a quarterback, brings something to your team. So I'm kind of flip-flopping on myself because I'm saying they might not go quarterback, but Bryant Dynasty brings a lot to him. Bryant Dynasty, he would bring a lot to them if he was a kicker. I think they might be looking at him if he was a kicker. So I just think it's the pick, and I think it's about him, not his position.
He was my kicker last season as a non-contract player.
He's a great guy. You know, he brings a lot to the team,
Awesome
lot
guy.
off the field. I think he's their pick no matter what the position. It just happens to be at a big position.
I love you, Bryant.
Let's see if
How's he
Atlanta
fall this
indeed
far already? How's Bryant Dynasty fall this far? You guys crazy?
Atlanta has
got
made
ace.
their selection. The champs add one to their roster. Who is it going to be? Back to Cameron Irvine.
With the 18th pick in the SFL's Season 15 rookie draft, the Atlanta Swarm select defensive end Billy Ray Valentine, Leland, Illinois. The Fort Worth Toros are on the clock with the 19th pick.
Fair enough. Fort Worth's going to have 2 picks in this first round, but we talk about Atlanta in just a second here as we get forward. The Chicago boy, or not quite Chicago suburb boy in Leland gets picked. It's Valentine. They shore up the defensive end. We'll break that pick down and so much more when we return to the Season 15 SFL Rookie Draft on 11 Sports. And for the fans, stay with us.
Hang in there, Bryant.
Tough time to be a quarterback. There's too many.
Yeah,
of them.
no kidding. I think honestly they made the right pick though.
Absolutely, but you know what, Mark Chisholm's a very, very intelligent owner, and I wasn't sure if he was going to wait to see and just sit there in the catbird seat to see if who fell to him. But you know what? He's got a very, very strategic mindset, and he knows that this draft is deep. He can take Dynasty in the second round, and he's going to get huge value. You guys want Atlanta to win back-to-back titles or what? I can't believe these owners. Eddie, I'm coming after you. I can't believe they let man, Atlanta, they're letting Atlanta just pick us apart. Atlanta, Mark Chisholm's so happy right now. He's the happiest guy in the draft.
I talked to him, and this was his plan all along.
Yep.
All right, welcome back into the Season 15 Simulation Football League Rookie Draft. We are at pick number 19, and the Toros are on the clock for their second selection of this draft. But we need to talk a little bit about that pick from previous, as the Swarm. Take a look there at Stephen Hacker. But the Swarm made a selection that kind of put some of us off the rails a little bit. But it was all part of a plan, Eddie Gage.
It was, as I said earlier, I spoke to Mark earlier this week, and as stated during the break here, that was his plan all along. And with so much value at quarterback, unless people start picking him up and put him on the bench, he's going to get his guy regardless. Oh my gosh. Brian, give me a call, man. Ben Stone, my nephew, give me a call. It's going to be okay. Hang in there, guys.
Absolutely. And Improda, let's give the condensed soup version of what you gave us during the break.
Yeah, I really think, as I stated a few picks earlier, after St. Louis made their pick, they didn't take a quarterback. I knew Mark Chisholm. He's a very, very intelligent owner. I give him a lot of credit. The cookie has crumbled, the chips are falling, and he's sitting there with a big stack of gold because he's got the strategic mindset. He didn't have to take the QB right now. He was able to go after the defensive end. The QB class is so deep, he's going to get his guy no matter what. I really commend you, Mark Chisholm. I don't know if you're going to win 2 in a row, but man, right now this draft is lining up for you nicely.
Let's move on a little bit here. We're going to get away from Atlanta. We're going to go back to Fort Worth, who had the first pick in this draft, and one of those in the Texas Metroplex, as it were. The second pick for them in this first round, you saw Stephen Hacker on the phone with somebody, and does anybody have an inkling on who it might have been? Maybe Coach Craven.
Well, I'll give you a hint. I think she's related to the first round pick or the first pick.
Yeah, that was my initial thought too. Which one is it?
His wife, KT.
Okay. Okay, that would make
Going
sense.
to have
Ben,
going to
do
be
you
a
agree?
linebacker duel. Going to be a linebacker duo together. That'd be awesome. That'd be fun. I hope it happens. I hope I'm right. Just because it'll be awesome. They get to play together. That'd be. Oh, I'd love that. I love that.
What's your thought, Benji?
That would be awesome. That would be the content we're here for. I think that'd be an SFL story for sure.
No, I think that pick is already in, and I think we're ready to go with it to get us out back to Fort Worth. The Toros have made their second selection of this expansion draft for them. Let's see who it is.
With the 19th pick of the SFL's rookie draft, the Fort Worth Toros select kicker Taco Sicario. Portland, you're up with the 20th selection.
So a little bit of surprise on the other side. We have nachos. Now we have tacos. It's getting to be a regular Tuesday around Fort Worth, and we have ourselves a situation where the wife of David was not taken. And with that, let's go to you, Coach Craven, with your reaction on it.
I get it. But I obviously suck at this game because I've been wrong most of the time. But I'm gonna overturn my laptop and stomp away. No, I'm kidding. Well, they can get her later. You know, they've got a lot of picks. There's going to be a lot of value. They can pick her up later. So, you know, you could brought in another family member. I like it. It makes sense.
Eddie Gage, I'm going to ask you this because I know that you have a very tight family situation. If you had the ability to play with your wife at a similar position on an SFL roster, would you do it if you had the decision power?
Wow. You know, as heavily involved in the SFL as I am already, I spent so much time in this room right here to have her on the same team. Woo, that would that'd be interesting, but I would welcome it.
All right. We won't spend too much time on that because it didn't actually happen. But give me your thoughts real quick on the kicker selection, second one in the first round.
Well, speaking to the Harrells, they often talk about their desires to play on the same team. So I was kind of looking forward to that pick as well. But they decided to get a kicker. There's a lot of them out there, so I'm kind of surprised that there so many of them are going here in this first round. But perhaps again, it was something in their personality that they saw, and they wanted to pick one up. But looking back at Atlanta's last pick, you guys say he was from the Chicagoland area. I'm from Chicago, so I had to look that up. Leading is way out there. That's a road trip and a half to get there. I wouldn't consider him a Chicago native. Way out there.
Fair enough. The not Chicago, Illinois native.
That's right. There you go.
I like it. Good pick. Good fix on that. Mikey and Proda, 10 words or less. Same question to you. Would you play with your wife on the same team?
No. But I guess they want to, you know, one way or the other, whether they took Oral or they took Nacho's brother, the kicker. You know, they're looking to build a true family over there, and let's see if that could prove to be beneficial. It's not a bad pick either way, but I think they're really trying to create that family atmosphere, and that's exactly what they did by taking the owner's brother as the kicker.
Fair enough. You take a look at Mr. Lozano there of Portland as he's working on making his pick and selection for the 20th selection in this first round. And let's talk about Portland. They seem to have a strategy going in as one of the new franchises. And Betchy Matson, what do you see them looking at for this second pick in the first round?
Well, you know, they need a lot of picks here in this draft, or they have a lot of picks. So they're looking for value. Maybe they have targeted someone here on the board, specifically here with this pick in this first round. You know, this is their second pick. You know, I don't really have any idea where they're going to go with this, but you know, they still need a lot of help on the defensive side of the ball. Wouldn't be surprised to see that pick come from that side of the ball. And you know, look at cornerback. We still have a lot of great value in that cornerback position. I mentioned Bob Funk earlier, my teammate. He's still there. Ryan Owens, Garrison Blue on that cornerback spot. But there's just a lot of value to be had on the defense side of the ball. So Portland, I think they probably might have had their guy or gal targeted here, and wouldn't be surprised if they're getting the pick they want.
See where Portland goes with this. And Mikey and Proda, they still need a lot of roster spots filled. They may end up going through the supplemental draft to do so. But do you have an inkling as to where they might be looking as far as that goes specifically?
Yeah, I mean, to Benji's point, I mean, they have 10 overall draft picks coming into tonight. They used one on defensive tackle, Bernard Patterson. They've got a ton of cap room. They picked up a great quarterback, as we talked about earlier, Matt South. He played for the Baltimore Crabs back in season 9, 22 touchdowns, 20 interceptions. I think maybe they go wide receiver. They have 2 open wide receiver positions, or they could go secondary. They really don't have anything. They need four player positions in the secondary as well. So I think they either go wide receiver, cornerback, or a safety position.
Well, it would be the first wide receiver taken in this draft. We'll see if that's indeed the case. We have the pick in just about as Cameron Irvine is ready with that selection at number 20.
Thank you, Chris. With the 20th pick in the SFL's Season 15 rookie draft, the Portland Fleet select cornerback Bob Funk out of Syracuse, New York. And London, you're on the clock with the 21st pick.
Mr. Improda, I know you're going to love this because he's a New York guy and you're a Rhode Island guy. That's going to be great. But I'm not going to pick on you first. I'm going to pick on Benji Matson with this. You know this guy from your team in the SFLM. Give us your thoughts on them taking him at 20. Benji there?
Sorry about that, Chris. Fuel had a great minor league season this year. I think this is a great pick for Portland. The secondary for the Fuel were on fire this year, and Bob was a key member of that team. I think this is a great pick for Portland. He's going to be there, play solid defense in that secondary, and I think this is just a great pick for Portland to build on here. As we look forward, we know they got a lot of picks left in the go to this draft. This is a great second pick for them here in this first round.
I like it. That's good stuff. And then let's head to the Rhode Island native just to get that perspective. He's a New York guy from Syracuse, so it kind of counts. But it's a spot of need for them, obviously, as with most of the spots in their roster. And he had a really good season. I don't think there's any way to fault this. No.
Yeah, no, I love the pick. And as Eddie mentioned, I think we could all agree that the quarterback position and the running back position are probably, when you break it down and you look at teams, the 2 most important positions on the field. But they didn't have anybody in the secondary. They needed somebody. Why not take the number 1 guy who had 4 interceptions? He led the league in the SFL minors. He brings a lot of excitement to the games. Everybody loves him in the chat. And when you got a name like Bob Funk Railroad, picking off passes, playing center field and, shutting people down in the deep portion of the field. I really like the pick. I think he's going to fit in great in Portland.
That'll work. And Eddie, as we go forward, let's talk about London once more, as they have their second selection of the first round. They got some help in the first pick, or their first round pick. Where do they have their eyes set, you think, going forward, talking about Liam Crowder?
I honestly don't know. Their team is just about filled out. I don't really speak to Liam all too much, but so I'm not sure which way he's headed. Maybe he goes to the defensive line, just looking at it. I don't know. I'm kind of perplexed to this decision, but just looking at his roster, I would say defensive line.
Okay. Coach Craven?
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I also think there's some pretty good value wide receivers sitting there at that pick that they could take. But, one of those 2, another weapon for Angus isn't a bad idea. So one of those 2 spots, I think that's what I'd lean toward.
We have not seen a wide receiver taken in this first round as of yet, and I'm going to continue to say that as a wide receiver.
It's only the first round.
It's only the first round. That's fair.
There's some great value though, and that brings up a good point. You can get great value later in the draft. So a lot of stuff feels like it's been turned on its ear, but not really.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And Benji Matson, any dissenting opinions? Do they not go defensive line? Maybe.
Well, just like Eddie always tells us, I've got some inside information here.
Here we go. All right.
and Liam and Tanner Hendricks, the general manager, they're excited about this draft. I'm excited to be a part of the team, and I'm excited for my new teammate here who's about to be selected, and excited for the direction that the Knights are headed here. This is gonna be a great player for the Knights moving forward.
I think we're gonna get another look at Liam Crowder, if I'm right. Yep, that's exactly. Yeah, he's on the phone again. There you go. And this time he's not on the phone with Benji Matson, who was their first selection at tight end, which is interesting. Looks like that call is done. He's about to communicate it over, so we'll get that here in just a second. But should be a lot of fun to see where they go. Do they add more weapons for Angus McLean again, or do they go to the defensive line? That's gonna be the fun little spectacle that we have in front of us for the next, I'd say, 30 seconds or so, as it looks like that pick has already been communicated. But let's, Mikey and Proto, I mean, give us your thoughts just real quick, because it looks like we're going to be done here. What's your thoughts on this pick?
Yeah, I mean, they could go wide receiver. I could also see them going D-line. They usually run 3 wide receiver sets. I know Liam loves to air it out, and Angus has got the arm to do it. I wouldn't be surprised to see them take a wide receiver, but if they go D-line, I think there's some great value there as well.
Yep. That could very well be it. We'll see where the Knights go with this selection, and we have one more. Believe it or not, after this one is done, it is the Houston Hyenas that have the last pick in the first round, their second selection of the first round, and we're going to be picking on Eddie for that as we go forward. But no, it's good stuff from London. Their tight end pick that they got first, shored up that part of it, and it'll be fun to see where they go and to give something around Angus McLean to me. This is one of my teams, and I'd like to get your guys' thoughts as well on other teams that could do this. One of my teams that could go very well from bottom to either middle to top, depending on where they go in this draft. But they've got some pieces to make it work. Eddie?
They definitely do. Their offense was played quite well last season. If their defense can pick up and produce on their end, then London has nowhere to go but up. I mean, their offense was electric last season. They were one of the few teams who didn't have a problem airing the ball out deep downfield early and often.
Fair enough. Well, let's see who's going to go across the pond to join Benji Matson on the London Knights. Cameron Irvine has the answer.
With the 21st pick in the SFL's Season 15 rookie draft, the London Knights select linebacker Jeff Gagne, Rochester, New Hampshire. Houston has the final pick of the SFL's first round of the rookie draft.
Well, would you look at that? A Northeastern guy, Mike and Proto.
Yeah.
Let's touch base with Benji Matson first, because he looks like he has some things to say about this guy at linebacker. And you're muted.
Welcome home, Jeff, to the Knights. That's what I'll say there. I think London's excited to be putting some pieces together on the defensive side of the ball. We capture some swagger, some energy, some attitude there on that side of the ball. And I think Jeff's going to be a key player for the Knights moving forward, adding to a great nucleus that's already in place. So I'm excited to be a part of this with Jeff, and excited to see what else Liam and Tanner are doing in the draft this year.
Get Coach Craven, Northeastern guy. The personality seems to be there and fit what Liam wanted, and they needed to shore up the defensive side of the ball. This is a step in that direction, no?
Oh yeah, I mean, I didn't pick linebacker, but it's a good pick, and Jeff's a good guy. Jeff's a good locker room fit, team fit.
Yes.
So I like it.
Good.
Fantastic
And Mikey
pick.
and Proto, let's go to you for the obligatory Northeastern reference, and give your character reference on this guy.
Yeah. Well, Rhode Island is a little bit south of Boston, so Northeastern is a little bit further up, but
Sure.
all the same, it is New England for sure. I think it's a good pick. I wasn't sure, whether they would go D-line. They did have a need at linebacker. I think Jeff Gagne is a great pick. I probably should have done a little bit more homework on him. I lost my notes here as far as how many check-ins or weeks banked that he has, but I think it's a great character pick. I think he has a lot of really positive involvement in the Discord. He just got assigned to lead the league social player content in the Discord. So he's someone that's going to really make a strong impact and help this league get stronger as we move forward. I like that pick by Liam and Jeff Gagne. Congratulations to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move ahead and get the last pick on our thought process here, it is time for Eddie Gage to shine and put ourselves in the mind of Damon Simeon as we go into that very dangerous place, as I like to say. Where do they go, you think, at 22? No wrong answer.
Damon has his offense set. He has some great pieces there. He has 3 great receivers. He has a tight end who's slowly progressing along. He's getting to that point where you can start doing some things with his build. So his offense is set. To me, he needs to find a replacement for Fats Johnson. So either he goes defensive tackle or he goes defensive end and to bunker that other side of the line. If he doesn't do that, maybe he gets a slot corner / safety. So that's Damon for me, brother. Make the right decision.
I like it. This is another team, though, that is a little bit of an enigma as far as they did not have a fantastic season last season. I think they'd be the first to tell you that. This is another one that has a chance to make that jump and get themselves a much better standing, maybe even a playoff spot coming into season 15. Disagree, Mike and Proto, or is that more or less what you're thinking too?
No, I think coming into the draft, I thought Damon's needs over in Houston were defensive end and linebacker. They got their first pick, Brody Gulch at linebacker, which I thought was a really, really solid pick. I'm with Eddie. You know, as I mentioned earlier in the show, they need someone to fit in next to Alex Perez. If they went defensive end, there's a lot of great value out there right now. You got Tina Begin, you got Gary Burney, you got Igor Barbatov. So if they went defensive end and they took one of those 3, in my opinion, I don't see them going wrong with that selection.
Yeah, you mentioned it. I mean, there's, especially now at the last pick of the first round, a ton of value at most of the defensive positions still on the board. And we're going to go to Coach Craven to expand on that a little bit. There's a lot of defensive spots that still have a lot of really, really awesome contributors to basically any roster.
Yeah, I agree. I think either one of those positions, defensive end or defensive tackle, is the pick that they make. Big hole, literally and figuratively, in the middle of their defense.
About a 350-pound hole.
Yeah, when you lose someone named Fats, that's a big hole. So they got to plug that hole, so to speak, one way or the other. And I think they wanted Krim at that spot. And with him gone, they probably had to scramble a little bit. But I think they're going to replace. It's all about replacing Fats. So one of the defensive tackles, maybe Igor. Igor's a perfect fit. Again, literally and figuratively.
Yeah, fair enough. And Benji Madsen, in agreement, or do you have another player that you're kind of keeping an eye on in that defensive spot?
No, unlike before, I don't have any insider information on this pick. No. But again, just to echo what everyone else has said, there's tremendous value still across the board for this pick here for Houston.
Yep, a lot of really, really good players and a lot of really, really good personalities that can fit in just about any locker room situation, both on the offensive side and the defensive side of the ball. Remember that we still have a decent number of quarterbacks that are really good value on the board as well. And that's something that Houston may not be looking to fill, but there's going to be plenty of it, I think, in the second round, maybe even third round as we go forward. Reminder as well, this is the only night that we are on 11 Sports and For the Fans for the season 15 draft. For the rest of the rounds 2 through 7, that will be showcased on YouTube. Full schedule available, I believe, on our Twitter at SimulationFL. That was put there sometime either today or late yesterday. So definitely get over and drop that a follow if you guys get a chance as well. But Houston, we're working on getting their pick in, and that might be to Craven's point, maybe have them scramble a little bit where they're having problems, deciding who they're going to go with, Eddie, as they maybe are trying to replace Fats and trying to make a decision as to who they want.
Yeah, he's talking to me right now, and he's I
had that thought process.
He's teeter-tottering, so to speak. He's in a great position right now, and I know he's going to make the right one, but he think he has his mind quite set, but he's just making sure he's dotting T's and crossing the I's right now.
Okay, no, that's nothing wrong with that as the last pick in the draft. So see if he makes that selection and gets us to a point where we can start talking about it and seeing, if it was the right one, it was the wrong one, that kind of thing. It's been a lot of fun to be with you guys. Thank you guys for choosing to join us and letting us into your homes on this Sunday evening on 11 Sports for the fans and on the digital family of networks with Twitch, Pluto, and all that. It's been a lot of fun. It's kind of knocked us on our ears a little bit. In some cases, 2 kickers selected in the first round, which I did not expect, and I think most of the panel did not as well. Mikey and Proda, I think, had about an aneurysm with Atlanta making their pick. Looks like Demond is not going to make us wait any longer. It looks like he's made his selection, and let's get over to Cameron Irvine for that 22nd pick.
With the final pick of the SFL's first round in the rookie draft, the Houston Hyenas select defensive end Wolf Justice. Join us on our YouTube channel tomorrow at 7 Eastern, 6 Central for round 2. We'll have a whole nother panel, and we got more to come here as well as we wrap things up here on the rookie draft. Back to you, Curtis.
Absolutely. We have Wolf Justice is the pick. We will break that down and give our final thoughts when we come back to 11 Sports and for the fans. The season 15 rookie draft for the Simulation Football League rolls on live. And we are indeed back to the first round of the SFL Season 15 rookie draft. Chris Curtis, along with Eddie Gage, Mikey Improda, Benji Matson, and Coach Brian Craven. We have our last pick in the books for the first round. It is Wolf Justice, the defensive end for Houston. And I'm going to go to Benji Matson because I don't pick on you a whole lot. Let's touch base with you on this selection, and it kind of fits in with what we were talking about.
Yeah, we had mentioned before this just the tremendous amount of value at certain positions still left in this draft, and rounding out into this first round, Houston getting their guy at the defensive end position, Wolf Justice. As far as defensive ends go, enjoyed a good year in the minors and brought a lot of value forward for Houston. So it's a great pick for Houston moving forward.
And Eddie Gage, I didn't pick on you first this time, but give me your thoughts. Right pick, wrong pick. I know you was teeter-tottering a bit.
It's the right pick. They needed a defensive lineman, as you see Andy back there just elated over his
Look
picks.
at the head of hair on Andy Hamilton.
Exactly.
It's morphable too. We'll talk about that later.
They made the right selection. They needed to replace the pass rusher and run stuffer that they had in Mike Fast Johnson, who left due to retirement, and they got a great selection. Wolf, he had the most value at defensive end, and they can do a lot of things with that in terms of 3-3, 3-2, and dime defense, and wreak havoc with 2 defensive ends on their squad.
Yeah, absolutely. And Benji, your thoughts, or not Benji, sorry, Craven, your thoughts on Houston's pick. Again, exactly where we thought they were going to go, and it opens the door to a lot of improvement through rounds 2 through 7.
Yeah, I agree. And I thought Eddie just touched on this. He said something about he had good value at the defensive end spot. I thought the highest value defensive lineman was probably the best choice right there. And they made a great choice. It was a logical choice, safe choice, nothing wrong with that. I liked it. It was a good way to go.
Mikey and Proda, your thoughts as we wrap up the last pick of the first round?
Yeah, I think Damon made a really intelligent pick. They've got 2 safeties. They've got 2 cornerbacks. They needed help in the middle of that defense. They took Gulch with the number 4 pick with their first selection. They took Wolf Justice. As we knew, they needed help on the defensive line. Offensively, I mean, they're set. They have Kentez Johnson. They got Warren Murray in the backfield. They have DR Sem, the best wide receiver in SFL history. They have a tight end in Dax Lewis. To me, that's where their needs were, and they filled it very nicely. And nice draft by Demont.
I like it. Okay, fellas, we're going to play a game. It's going to be a pretty simple game. It's going to be called Let's Pick a Winner. Not of the draft, but let's go forward to the Season 15 SFL Championship game. Pick me a champion. The rules are it cannot be your own team, and the same team cannot be picked more than once. And I'm going to start with you, Mikey and Proto.
I plead the 5th.
Good answer. Good answer.
I plead the 5th. No, listen, if it's not the Chicago Wildcats, which that'll be the biggest shock of season 15 if the Wildcats aren't playing for the title. But honestly, I've been going crazy all night long because Mark Chisholm, last year Andy had his fiddle and Shan with the peanuts and the fiddle and all that nonsense. But right now, Mark Chisholm's sitting back and his team's playing sweet music with the way this draft has ended up for him. They got Billy Ray Valentine, defensive end. I really thought that they may be forced to trade all of their draft picks and move up to get the quarterback that they wanted. But somehow the other teams really didn't go in the direction that I thought that they might go in when it came to quarterback selections. And right now, Atlanta's looking really, really strong. And if they can get a pick like Javier Vasquez or my number 1 guy in the draft, Brian Dynasty, with all the value, the intangibles, and everything that he brings to this league, I can't see how they're not the favorites going into season 15 again.
Behind the scenes look, that's about a 10th of what Mikey and Proto gave us during the break after Atlanta made their selection. And it was absolutely fantastic. I couldn't go to him because his blood pressure was already through the roof. That being said,
go Daddy Gage.
So you're thinking Atlanta. Let's go to Eddie Gage. Give us your season 15 champion.
I can't pick Arizona for some unknown reason, but I'm gonna go with the runner-ups, and I'm gonna tell you why. I love their offensive philosophy. Sioux Falls has a running game like no other team is displayed in this league, and they do it the right way. I mean, their quarterback throws the ball probably less than Johnny Pickler does, and that's saying something. I mean, that power run game, they got it coming from all angles. They run a trap, they run a power O, they run a strong power O, they run dives, they run stretches. It's amazing what they're able to do with it, and I'm just surprised how they got away from it in that championship game. I think he might have overthunk things just a little bit too much, and if he would have just stuck to status quo and stuck with that running game, and he kind of got away from that power running game so much, and they played right into the hands of Mark with that nickel defense that he played all game. And anytime he came in dime, it was cover 12 throughout the entire contest. He didn't do anything but cover 12. If they'd have stuck with their traditional offense, I think Sioux Falls could have possibly walked away with the championship. But that's going to be my pick, Sioux Falls.
So Sioux Falls is Eddie Gage. Before we go to Coach Craven, which is going to be next, I want to remind you guys that you can play along at home in this particular game on Twitter. Hashtag SFL Draft. Give us your pick for a Season 15 champion. And just for giggles, let's say pick a winner for the SFL Draft as well. But Coach Craven, give us your selection for the Season 15 champion.
Eddie took my pick.
I saw that. I saw your face as soon as he said it. I'm like, oh, Craven's disappointed.
All that's there. All that's there. I love Sioux Falls. I love their philosophy. So, and I'll tell you what, I also feel biased about Vancouver, so I'm not going to pick Vancouver because,
Yeah, you've been there for a while.
Yeah, I like Vancouver. So, my backup to that philosophy is Baltimore. Baltimore does a lot of the same things as Sioux Falls. Not exactly, but they do a lot of the same things. So Baltimore is my pick.
Okay, fair enough. Benji? And you're muted?
Let's run with those Chicago Wildcats. What do you say, huh, Mikey?
Someone who's paying attention. Finally. Thank you very much.
I like it. Any particular reason you have a hunch?
I've just got a hunch. And I've been watching from afar as a rookie, kind of, getting the lay of the land. All the rookies, we have a lot to learn, but we're looking forward to season 15 for sure. But I've got my eye on those Wildcats. Something about them.
I am going to go, I'm going to take I can't believe I'm calling them a sleeper, but let's talk about Jacksonville for a second. Jacksonville reloading a bit, and with Christian Christensen, you have Ken Gossett out there. You can't sleep on those guys at all, and you haven't been able to. So that's my pick for season 15, and I'll leave it short, sweet, and to the point as far as that goes. So that being said, awesome. That was a very successful first round of the season 15 SFL draft. It knocked us on our ears at points. 2 kickers, 1 quarterback taken in the first round. An amazing turnout from everybody, from coaches to owners to players to Cameron Irvine, who's hitting all the buttons, making us look way better than we deserve to look on this draft board here. But that is it, and that is all from Draft Central here at SFL HQ. I'm Chris Curtis for Eddie Gage, Mikey Improta, Brian Craven, Benji Matson, and the rest of the owners and players that make up the Simulation Football League. Thanks for inviting us into your homes this evening, and we welcome you in to season 15 that gets going in just a few weeks' time. Thank you, and have a great night.
Good night. Drive home safely.